are approval not required plans, for which we have one. Barbara Nay, a transfer of 1,272 square feet from parcel A from Lot 2, which was previously approved as a rear lot, to Lot 1, and it's located at 485 Clarendon Street in the RA District. It's going to result in the creation of two lots, one of them being 15,730 square feet, Lot 1A, and another lot of 47,250 square feet, Lot 2A. And if there's anybody here who'd like to even present that, otherwise we have the information. Paul's bringing it up on the screen.
I assume the applicant's not here, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
all right. Does
Let's-
any board member have any questions regarding this A&R? It's got its frontage, it's just pretty much a transfer of a small, we can see that parcel A triangle aspect being transferred
If
into.
folks remember, we did this rear lot a few months ago. So this Lot 2A we recently created off of this Lot 1A, and it's just this parcel A that's being conveyed back to Lot 1A, if I'm reading this correctly.
All right.
And it says
Yeah.
parcel A is not a building lot, to be conveyed with annexed with other land of Barbara Nay, which is Lot 1A's owner.
Okay.
I'm good with it, Paula.
All right. Anybody like to make a motion?
We can sign it. We don't need, you want to still
Everybody's
vote on it?
Actually,
All we
you're
gotta do is
right.
have 4 people sign it.
Yes, which is true.
You can sign
I
it
know,
first, and then
I'm
we'll...
still thinking our
I hear ya,
our
I hear
COVID
ya.
times.
No problem.
Of authorization.
If you want to sign and date it first, we'll follow you up there.
We're all set. We have the pen over there, 1024. Am I going?
After she's done, you can sign it if you want, Amanda.
Okay. All right, we have the requisite 4 signatures, so we're all set with the A&R. We do not have any minor site plan reviews this evening. We have a plethora of public hearings, though, and I gather why everyone's here tonight. So our first hearing for the evening is a special permit and site plan review for Select Energy Development LLC for the installation of 3 solar canopies over a portion of parking areas located at 140 Arnhow Farm Road, which is FHS, and it's continued from our September meeting. Good evening. So applicants, if you'd like to come to the podium, either stand at the podium or you can sit at the table with the microphone so that everyone can be heard.
Should we do introductions?
All
Please.
yours.
All right.
Please.
Jeremy Roach, Assistant Superintendent, Finance Operations, Fitchburg Public Schools. Thank you for having us.
Byron Woodman with Select Energy. I've been working with the city on the high school project, as well as Longstro and Crocker and some of the other ones as well, too.
Jose Picharo, project manager with Green Seal Environmental, representing the applicant in the mostly the civil portion of the project.
Ken LaCourse with Select Energy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in person this evening. We appreciate that, too.
If you guys have any slides you want up, I just started with the first one, landscaping plan. I don't know, Jeremy, if you want to give an overview, that's fine too. But if you want anything up on the screen, just tell me, I'll pull it up. I have everything available.
Yep. And I'll defer to the team from Select. I know, obviously we've been talking about this a little bit, and we're excited about it from a school department perspective, because it should help us with some of the factors that we've been trying to initiate across the district in terms of electrification through solar and reducing our reliance on fossil fuels and some other things. I did do some background investigation into this particular project in the last week or so, just to provide the board a little bit more information. So last year we did, our billed amount for electricity was $289,000 at Fitchburg High School. We used 1.6 million kilowatts of energy at that site. We do have several other sites in the school district that do have solar arrays. I'll use Rheingold and Memorial Middle School as examples. And both of those combined equaled $90,000 in electricity bills and significantly lower rates of electricity. So from that perspective, we're really excited because of my $715,000 electricity budget, I'm hoping to get down to about $600,000. In addition, I know in terms of the canopies themselves, there have been concerns, and we've discussed it extensively as well, about the size of those pylons that sort of infringe on parking spaces. So the gentleman can speak a little bit more about that, but over the last 5 days I have gone up to the school myself, but also had the team up there identify the number of open spaces, and the average has been on a daily basis. And as you know, the facility, I think you can see at least one view of Fitchburg High's parking area. We've had on average 85 to 90 open spots each day. So I think there's certainly available parking at that site between the two lots, that one is sort of on the side as you pull up into the property and one is behind the property. And I think what we're looking at there is the one
This is
behind.
the other one. I
Yeah,
can zoom
that's
out.
the side lot there as you come in and then take a right, and then the first one showed the back lot. So between those two lots we had, today was 87, but the average was about 85 to 90. So I'll defer to the team from Select to also speak to any other concerns. I think they updated the landscaping plan as well. And again, our biggest thing is we want to do our best to sort of meet the decarbonization goals. I know our Crocker Elementary project is going to work hard on doing that as well. And we want to provide, I think, what will be a great connection to a number of initiatives within the school, too. We have an environmental science innovation pathway that's sort of a technical vocational pathway for students. We think this will be a nice component to add as an actual kind of example of what a solar energy can do for a large organization, 250,000 square foot facility like that. So I'll stop there. I'm certainly here to answer any other questions, and certainly we can, the team, the engineers can specifically address, I think, other questions that the board might have.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. So I just wanted to speak a little bit just also broadly about the projects in terms of the economics and the process just a little bit. We've been working on the project for a couple of years, and it's been advancing over that period. And there's several different milestones that we need to achieve in terms of the utility approval, in terms of getting the SMART incentives, obviously school committee approval, and then city council approval. So at this point, everything is in place. We've been making payments to, or have made some payments to, Unitil. We have an upcoming payment of about $83,000 that's due in November, like November 2nd or 3rd. And so our hope is to get clear line of sight in terms of the requirements that, obviously there's been lots of dialogue, but we want to really make sure that we're super clear on what the requirements are for a positive vote, and hoping to if possible, receive a vote contingent on specific things that would happen in the project. And to be able to have that guidance and then work with the schools to be able to take those requirements and put them into the model and confirm the final PPA rate that would enable the project to advance. One big piece of it, though, is what we're seeing is obviously the necessity, and we all acknowledge it, a necessity to meet the city's requirements for zoning and construction and all the rest of it. There's another piece of it too, which has to do with broadly landscaping, beautification, different aspects of the project like that, and essentially the increase in capital project essentially goes through to a net increase in what's called the power purchase agreement rate or the energy cost. And so just in communication, and Jeremy could speak to it more if it's helpful, but what the guidance is that I think we're getting from the school committee is they would prefer to receive the energy savings, if possible. They prefer to receive the maximum energy savings over other things such as landscaping requirements. So I put that out there. Obviously, there's a balance. Whenever we leave a site, it looks really nice. And I just want to mention that as part of the frame of the conversation so that, that guidance is there as well, too. So I'll hand it over to the more technical people. Feel free to ask any questions as they arise. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Paul, can we pull up the revised landscaping plan dated 10/20? It should be the very last two documents.
Yep, I got it. All right, hold on one second. Do you want to start on the first page?
Yeah, sure.
This one? I figured I'd zoom into the actual canopy. Is that good?
Yes, that should be good.
Yep, just let me know if you need me to move it or anything.
Okay, so pretty much on last Thursday, we received comments from the board. In order to incorporate those, we quickly revised those plans, and those were uploaded this morning. So I'm going to go over what the changes were, and hopefully it's not too hard to digest. So page L1, or sheet L1, mostly they added shrubs on the general area and eliminated some of the mulch that the board did not like. To the west, we can see the replacement trees, and I believe we have about 12 replacement on this area. Pretty straightforward. We provided plantings and shrubs on the stairways. That was one of the requests that you guys wanted to see, so that is there now. If we can move to sheet L2.
Yep, let me just zoom out a little bit.
On this one, the landscaping plan calls for the elimination of 4 existing islands. That was also one of the requests on planning board comments. To the west, you have 5 replacement trees. And also the table of compliance, zoning compliance that you request, it shows that canopy area 1 will require around 2,000 square feet. Landscape area, it's actually on the 8,000 square feet. Canopy area, this canopy area that you're seeing over there, which has canopy 2 and 3, the requirement will be 7,500, and it's more than 10,000 square feet. So he listed that. We can go to sheet C3.
I only got 2 on here. Are we going to a different page?
Yes, it will be the other document at the very bottom of the.
Oh, the civil plans?
Yes.
Yep. Oh, yep, right here. Okay.
So what you see on the screen on this area, we originally had 2 canopies, and to provide separation to existing utilities as requested by the DPW. The canopy had to change. Now it's shorter and wider, and also require additional columns and footings. On blue cloud, you see the trees that are going to be removed. That was one of the requirements. The green spaces over there is where we are providing the stops for future electric vehicle connections, charging station connections, and it's going to be 2 for this specific area.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
Because Paula and I had talked about that the other day. So obviously, there's just going to be electrical conduit there for them to do something in the future. Is that electric conduit sized enough to do more than 2? Meaning, can they move that to, like do 10 in a row or 6 in a row? Or is it literally the size of the electrical hat can only do 2?
No, so depending on if you do decide to go larger, we can just upsize the conduit upon construction, once we start construction. So depending if you guys decide you want to put 10 more EVs.
Well, I just wanted, like, I talked to Jeremy about this the other day. I just want to make sure that the school department's prepared, especially we're 10 years away from the state being all electric.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to run the PVC right out to that pole hole. From that point, you could run additional conduit for additional feeders on top.
So the actual conduit that you're running is going to be sized enough where we can rerun wires without digging up
Right from your pole box, you'll be able to rerun wires.
Awesome.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's good, because that was one concern that, 2 just sounded like a small number when the Commonwealth's planning in 10 years to be all electric. So, you have 2, and then in 20 years, that becomes really problematic. So,
Right. It'd be nice to know that ahead of time so we can size the conduit accordingly.
yeah, I mean, I would just talk to whatever the school department, I wanted the school department just to be prepared for that. From a planning perspective, as long as you're aware and the school department's aware that you should run as much as you can ahead of time, at least making the conduit there, so you can make future electrical runs if you have to without digging up pavement.
Yep, you will be. You will be able to.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to get you off. I just didn't want to forget about that.
That's great. That's perfect. In addition, the canopy was slide a little bit to the west for the reasons that we're going to talk about on the next sheet. If we can go to sheet C3A.
Huh.
So this sheet was added to the set, also per your request last Thursday. What you can see here is the foundations and columns to the east are going to be, most of them now outside of the pavement areas, and the thought behind it was to maintain the entire row of parkings that is closer to the building, same as the existing conditions. And on the opposite side, now those are going to be more inside the pavement, but we will do the 3-foot painted island. That was one of the requests as well. Originally, this area from the left of the stairways, it had 14 spaces. Now with the new reconfiguration, it's going to have 8 spaces there. To the right of the stairways is going to be re-striped with a very minor relocation, but it will still maintain the same number of spaces. The total, the net, it will be actually a +4 spaces overall for the project. And
That includes the other area?
that's including the other area that we're going to talk
Gaining
about.
spaces, we're moving the landscaping islands on the other side.
Correct. I also added the dimensions that you wanted to see. So we should be good there.
I just a question in looking at this, and I'm fine with it if, again, what I told Jeremy the other day, school department's fine with it. Me personally, I'm fine with it. I wanted everyone to know that they might be losing spaces, and we wanted to calc on that and how, obviously Jeremy
Yes,
did his
but not anymore. Now we have a plus.
Well, he did his homework anyway and told us that there was plenty available. So I'm better with it now. The one question I have is more of a practical question. So you have, the spaces you get rid of, like the one all the way on the far left next to space 1, I can use my cursor. This is space 1 right here. The one on the far left, like this one. So every other one or every other one, you have a space like this where you have the crosshatch where the pylon is, and then kind of an open but it's only 6 feet wide.
Yes.
Should that crosshatch just be that whole 9 foot?
It's the situation here is that the columns are separated 18 feet, right?
Yep.
The required width should be 9 feet, but the columns are gonna be 1.5 feet on each side, so you can't get 2 full 9 feet
Right.
wide.
Right, that's
So
why I'm
that's gonna
saying,
be-
so the crosshatch line you have in this 3 foot by 19 foot, 3 foot by 18 foot section here, shouldn't that just be all over, because no one can park here?
It could be unless you want to use it for, let's say, a motorcycle, and that
I
could
just
be-
don't want,
Yeah,
I
but-
just don't want a situation where you have 2 kids trying to jam into,
Yeah.
it's a 15-foot space, so it's not wide enough for 2 cars. If you have 2 really small cars or a motorcycle, you might be able to do it, but again, if the school department's okay with it,
I think you'd either have to put signage that it's a motorcycle spot,
we could
or,
do that.
or you put cross hatches through the parking spaces.
or you get
that-
rid of that old line and you make it 16 feet
with
wide.
a no parking,
16 feet wide.
label. We could do that as
Oh,
well.
probably people are going to try to put.
Either
cars
way, I
that
think
way.
there's an easy solution to it. I just want to make sure that whatever you do, I mean, again, one of our biggest issues here, this lot, is this the employee lot? Or is this the student lot?
Probably can change.
So there's a little bit of flexibility on both of those lots. Currently, the back of the building, which is this one,
Yep.
has been the staff lot, and the side lot, but they also park along the side too, in the front, like where the soccer fields are. And then the side lot is mainly students, some staff, and then some visitors will park in there as well.
And I only ask that because obviously with student drivers, you have inexperienced drivers.
Yep.
You want to make sure it's as clear as possible that, you're not having accidents in the parking lot.
Absolutely.
That's the only reason why I bring it up.
To me, it looks like.
It always
you're
happens at
looking
3 o'clock on Friday, too.
Yeah, 7 motorcycle spots, or you
Yeah.
just extend the crosshatch over those areas so that just not parking there.
What's your preference? We'll do it. That's not an issue.
I don't,
I mean, how many motorcycles?
I don't.
You know what I mean? I think I would do the
Yeah, crosshatch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
there'd
would
be a
just
couple of
eliminate it so
motorcycles.
there are no issues.
Yeah.
Not
I
personally.
mean, you already took it out of your parking calcs anyway,
Right.
so,
Right.
Just extend it.
Okay, thank you. Paul, if we can go now to sheet C4.
Yeah, hold on one second.
On that one point, just for clarity, should we, one approach, I just want to make sure that we're just clear on what the requirement is. One approach would be after the canopy's done, working directly with the school on whatever signage they feel.
I don't even think it needs signage. I think painting or striping or removing lines, if you guys come to I would say for the sake of making this easy today, let's
Yeah.
just say extend the crosshatch so we have it definitive.
Okay.
If you guys get done construction and the school department sees that there's a better way, just present it to us unofficially and we can
It could
we
just
can
be a
modify
minor
the site plan.
adjustment.
Yeah,
You-
we could actually even do that right when the foundations are in. We can see what it looks like when we get our restriping plan, present it to you, and then we can
Yeah.
make
I mean,
adjustment on
obviously, if
that
you
point.
think, especially,
Perfect. Yep.
That
Jeremy,
sounds
if you
good.
think it's going to look better in the end, come back to us, and of course, we'll defer to you if you think something else is going to work better. I'm trying to get to,
Well, the spaces they could be wider than 9 feet. They could go 9.5 or whichever as well, too, so you can make
Yeah.
them a little bit broader, like.
that's the
And
other
again, like I
alternative.
said,
Make 'em-
just-
you make them all
Right when
12
the
on that
foundation,
side or
right when the
something?
foundations
too
are in,
large.
before we do the restriping plan, we can bring it to you, present it to you for approval.
Yeah.
You
I
can
mean,
make
I
that
would
as
say
part of the condition.
we'll treat it as a definitive condition for the purpose of today,
Yep.
just so we can make it easier. But when you're at the site, if it makes more sense doing it another way, please just say something, and that's an easy change.
Yeah.
That's no problem.
For what's presented, we'll just say extend the crosshatch,
Yeah.
but once you're on the ground and you want to make adjustments, we can do a
Perfect.
minor.
Yep.
Yep, that works.
Okay? Looking at that. All right, next up, that's a good way to address the columns.
So were you all done with your presentation?
If you want to go to sheet C4.
Okay. I assume that's just the next one, right? I don't have,
Yeah.
I got to zoom all the way out to see the numbers. That's this one, right? I think so.
On this project area, the biggest change is that we had one canopy for the entire length. Now we separated it to be 2. And reason being was to provide the 10-foot separation to existing utilities that the DPW wanted to see there. Again, same symbols. The 2 green hatches in there represents where we're going to put the conduits for future electric vehicles, just like the other side. Blue symbols, trees to be removed. Golden line is the erosion control that we're going to place during construction. Magenta line is the electric to feed the building. In this case, all the columns are going to be on the center stall, so that will work a foot and a half into each space, very similar to what you see when you have a car stop. So I don't think there's anything else that we should do for this, and everything else will remain the same. Of course, we will restripe everything underneath the canopy.
And as here, these planting islands underneath will just be removed with.
Pardon me?
And per the other plan, the islands that are under the canopy
Yes, we're going to
here
talk about
will
that
be
on the
removed.
next page. We can go now to that, which is sheet C48. So also to incorporate your comments, we added this sheet to show the additional spaces and new painting stripes. So here we're going to be, on those locations where the islands are going to be removed, we're going to gain a total of 10 parking spaces. So this is where the +3 net gain comes into play, or comes from.
The only question I have, and I know, obviously, Paula had sent me her comments too, so I know basically the idea is nothing's going to really grow onto the canopies anyway, so get rid of the landscaping areas. I did, and I kind of want your feedback, and Paula and the board too. My thought is those 2 landscape islands directly across where you have this crosshatch section, these 2 right here, that are directly across the main entrance into the parking area, don't they serve as traffic directing so that you don't have kids taking, corners over parking spaces? The question is, does anyone see a need for them? I'm okay with getting rid of them. I just see it as, like, if this were a new subdivision for a shopping center, there would be landscape islands there only because, not because we necessarily need them to be beautiful, but we need them to make sure people know where they're going when they're driving. I mean, I'm fine with the one on the far right and the one on the far left. So this one with the 4 spaces and this one with the 2 spaces. My thought was, even if, and you had it in the other plane, even if it was just mulched, and I know it's not ideal because grass won't grow there and everything else, it's more of a delineation between the parking area and the traffic aisle.
I would support that personally, 100%.
What's that?
I would support that.
Yeah, I mean,
It only has to be maybe like 2 feet or something. It doesn't have to be like a whole width either. If just something to help delineate.
I mean, if you cut it in half, you could pick up these 2 spaces here. You could pick up these 2 spaces here and leave this as just an asphalt berm with raised gravel, so that you have that where you have this crosshatch section. You just leave whatever the island you have there, or if there isn't one, just the berm when you're doing the pavement, and just gravel and mulch, just so that you have that. When there's snow on the ground, it's so hard to see parked lines. You don't want someone taking that corner sharply and catching the corner of another car. I would leave that one there, and the one on the right. I mean,
we could absolutely leave that berm, that part of the berm there, leave the with that asphalt berm, and just put a stone or mulch in that area. Just
even if
for
you
parking
wanted to keep
issues.
this straight across, that's fine. I
And
mean,
the-
if you want to pick up these 2
I just
spaces.
want to, and this is my understanding, correct me if I'm not understanding this correct, for the footings for each of those, the 3-foot column posts, pretty much for the foundation for those, it's 15 by 9.5 by 3.5 feet deep.
Correct.
So pretty much it's a giant, going to be like.
Under the
trench.
surface of the asphalt.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
pretty much the whole center of all that
But you're
parking
digging
space.
all that. You're
it's all gonna
excavating
be
all
dug
that,
up.
right?
We're excavating all that out.
So I'm just saying, there's really going to be no landscaping islands left. Everything's being dug up for those.
Right,
posts
but
at this
those
point, so-
foundations are below grade. So just the pylons.
No, I understand, but you're digging the holes
Yes.
3.5 feet deep, that size, 15 by 9.
Yes, that will have to be
Yes.
restored.
So
yeah,
that's
for
kind
sure.
of, so
16
there's a
6.
lot of pavement being torn up is what I'm.
Yeah, and then when we go to put it all back, we'll actually create a new berm.
Yes, so that's where I'm just saying the new pavement pieces come in and the restriping, because it's going to all be dug up, all those
Right.
huge
And so
sections.
One question on that, though, is typically what we do is it's not the entire area underneath the canopy that gets repaved. It's essentially the patching in the areas where the construction or excavation has occurred that it gets repaved or like patched back to its previous state is kind of
May
what we.
want to look at sealing it after then and just restriping it underneath the canopy, because that's going to
You'll
look terrible.
you'll have to stripe it.
Yeah.
You can't not
Oh,
stripe it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You
We'll-
need to
we'll be
restripe it.
restriping it all.
Everything will have to
patching
be
and then
restriped
restriping.
under there,
I mean, again, what you decide, that's,
based on your pavement management.
I mean,
Yeah.
Paula and I, we were basically looking at it like, if you have these pylons, they're about 18 feet apart, it's 17 feet, looking at the measurements from the parking stall width in these pylons, and you're excavating 6 feet wide by 16 and a half feet deep. It almost looks like you're literally going to have 4 feet in between each one that you're not paving. So it's almost like more work to have a crew come in and do each patch than do one straight stretch of pave. But anyway, it's
And the plans have notes in there on each one of them that has to happen. So you can see that resurface and restripe all spaces within the canopy areas.
Okay.
So
okay.
everything that is disturbed is
But
is noted in there.
That is a point that I did want to mention. If it adds cost, I think we'd probably prefer to patch it, which was what we'd typically do, as opposed to just resurfacing the whole area. So it's a note that's in there. We can do it if it's a requirement of the planning board, but if it's at the discretion.
as long as you're confident that the patches will be aesthetic, will be at grade, and will stay at grade, then I have no problem with that. If you have every patch settling 6 inches, that's a problem.
Yeah, they won't be settling, but yeah, I understand. Yeah.
And all the lines need to match up, that's the other piece. So that you may end up thinking it at lower cost, just seal coating underneath those spaces are theirs and just restriping. So once you do what you do, you have to just restripe it so that everything matches up the way
Yep.
it should be.
So that is pretty much what I wanted to describe on changes. I'm happy to answer any additional questions or.
Could you go
discuss
back
any-
to the slide with the landscaping on the slopes? I think we just, on the original plan,
Which one do you want? This
the
one?
one that's showing the actual plantings and landscaping. No,
Hold on.
the new one.
L1.
Nope, that's the wrong one. Not the
Yeah,
This one?
Yeah, yeah. Like, what is it calling out for on the slopes at this point? Because we just were looking at some type of ground cover just in order to retain the slope, so it's not just mulch, because those are slopes. So we want something to hold back the,
Okay.
so I'm not, what is the planting there that's there now? I'm not sure, I can't see the legend, sorry.
Yeah, there's a plant list right on the side.
I can probably zoom into it if you give me a
Right
second.
over to the left there.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Something that's just,
And again, we can modify this plant
Yeah,
list.
so-
Juniper, sumac, sweet spire, hydrangea, plum yew.
yeah, I think there's
Pine
like junipers there now, so
Yeah.
whatever you're doing. But because it's underneath the canopy, like, before it was just, we're going to mulch the whole thing, just some kind of low ground cover, just something that's just going to hold it back, that'll do fine underneath in a shade
Right.
environment would be fine. At least that's my recommendation. Other board members may have other things to say, but
Can you say that again? I was writing something.
low ground
Yeah.
cover?
Yeah, like junipers and,
Well, no,
oh,
juniper.
you're saying you
No,
you
just
don't
like,
think they'll survive?
potentially, you think like in shade?
I mean, isn't it a landscape architect that drew this plan? I would hope that
Yeah,
they
this is
they
des-
stamped
this
it
is
saying
designed
that
for-
Do that.
they can live there. I mean, I
That's
know what you're
fine.
saying because we talked about this. I just want it to look as nice as possible too. So if
It
they're
should.
okay doing it and the landscape architect
Fine.
says they'll grow, I'd say we just do it and see.
You got to
As
keep in
long as
mind,
they-
these canopies are 14 feet, 6 inches high. I
Fine,
mean,
then
they're
it's
still
under
going to
there?
get sunlight.
Okay. So it was just mulch before, but they're slopes, and we needed actual plantings in them. So now there's plantings in them. Great.
I'm glad you like them.
That's the idea.
I would just want to make note of how we discussed this so I can just make note of it when. So I'm going to call this reconfigured travel aisle mulched Reconfigured travel aisle mulched
Island?
island, thank you. I just want to make sure we're all talking about the same thing. I know how confusing these things get.
This is underneath canopy 3, I think.
That's 1, isn't it?
No, I think 1's in the back.
Oh, no, you're right. 1 is the one by itself.
2 and 3.
So this is 2 and 3. So it's a 2 on the left, 3 on the right. So Paul is right. Under
I think.
canopy 3. Okay.
And I want to take a board comment and questions regarding this application.
I agree with the parking, with the, on the other canopy, I think it's canopy 1, with the parking spaces, that was my, I think that's a big confusion.
Crosshatch?
Yes.
Anything? Okay.
Yep. And I like the idea of this, like making those 2 spots available, but leaving something so they, there's like an island of some sort.
Okay. Anybody else? Pete?
I think the landscaping plan as presented is sufficient for the project. I'm okay with that. Mr. Roach already has said that the parking is not a problem, and even with the loss of parking with the pylons, there's still plenty of parking. I believe when we're doing solar projects, the place for solar panels is either on roofs or on canopies, so that's great. We're not putting them in a field or taking down trees to put up a solar canopy. And I'm certainly all in favor of saving money for the school. So I think it's a win-win project for everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Lynn? You have any comments?
Sorry, I just had to unmute
Okay.
myself. I agree with what both Tracy and Pete has said. I think the plans look good. I think all of our comments were taken into consideration in the presentation, and I think it looks good.
Right. And then Alex, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I'm good with the way it's been presented and how it's looking.
Thank you. And this is a public hearing, so I'm going to open house to the public. If anybody has any comments or questions, please state your name and address, and you can come to the podium, unless you're online and you can use the raise your hand function. You don't see anybody in the participating audience
There's quite a few attendees virtually, just so you know, but no one's, I don't have any hands
for
raised.
this.
But for future reference, there's 15 virtual attendees.
Okay. And we have feedback from the departments. DPW had a specific,
And Jeff is on too, I believe. I think I saw him. Yeah, Jeff is on if you need anything from him. Or Jeff, if you have anything you wanted to say, I don't know if you had any input.
and.
Thanks, Paul. I'm all set. As long as when they go to the construction, they reach out to the appropriate departments pending the utilities they're working around, that will satisfy the needs for DPW.
Okay.
Yeah, just let them know before you start excavation in case they want to be on site for some of that.
Yeah, we will actually have a pre-construction meeting with the utility companies and necessary departments.
Right, and DPW.
And DPW,
Yeah, perfect.
yeah.
Excellent.
We'll
Awesome.
incorporate the prior DPW comments already made.
Yep.
So, that being said, any further board comments or questions? Do we think we have enough information to make a decision this evening?
Yep.
Yes.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
A motion's been made.
Second?
With the second to close the hearing, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right, discussion?
I'm good with it. I think that we ironed everything out. I think that the design changes were good. We talked about the issues we had, and almost all of them were mitigated, and the school department's good with the parking layout, so I'm good.
Very good. We just had the reconfiguring of the travel island and cross-hatching of the remaining spaces from the reconfiguration. We do
Yep.
have a net gain on some of the spaces, actually.
Yep, and one of the
And
kids,
also upsize make sure you upsize the conduits for future EV fittings in both of the parking lots so that it doesn't have to get dug up again on future accommodations. And then, as on the plan also, and with anything that's disturbed, to repave and restripe accordingly.
yeah, and the only thing was just the condition, if they decide that they're going to patch it, obviously our preference is if the numbers are relatively similar. Our preference would be you repave the whole thing, but I certainly, in trying to save the city long-term energy money, patching's fine so long as it's flush with existing pavement, and any disturbed areas to be repatched, restriped. That's the only other thing I have. Put that in the form of a motion.
Second. Motion's been made with the second. All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed, say oppose, and I'll take a roll call. Alex?
Aye.
Alin?
Aye.
Amanda?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Paula? Aye. Yay.
Okay, good luck, guys. Thank you.
It's been
Thank you
many
so much.
months.
Thank you for your time.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Nice to see your face.
Thank you.
Yes. I appreciate you guys coming too.
Yes.
It's sometimes we were having some technical issues last time where you could hear it fine on the broadcast, but you couldn't hear it well in this chamber. So I appreciate you guys coming in person.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you. We have another, next item is our site plan review. Kristen Fuller, conversion of residential dwelling into daycare center located at 44 Ronald Street, continued from our September 19th meeting.
All right, let me see.
Did you get any?
I don't know if she's.
I got no reply
checking
back.
to see right now if they're
Okay.
virtual.
So,
Nope. I don't believe they're virtual.
Okay.
How do you wanna handle it?
We continued this from our previous meeting upon request from the applicant. We have not received a response for any, or for additional information or our continued request from this meeting. So the board can certainly, since we don't have a request for continuance, make a decision on this, on the present application as it stands.
We do have something that we wanted to give you as well from the neighbors on Arnold Street, if you don't mind.
No, we're here, it's still open.
Thank you.
All right. Did you want, anybody want to read it into the record? You can read it into the record at the podium, like that, if you don't mind. Would you like to read? Yeah, sure. Sure, that would be helpful. Thank you. Just state your name for the record and.
Yeah, it's
say-
Barry Bellotti, 288 Teresa Street, which is the one, I'm up on the next block of Ronald's. To members of the planning board, Paula, Paul, Eileen, Amanda, Peter, Alex, Tracy. We are some of the residents who live in the neighborhood where the proposed daycare would be run on Ronald Street. As a group and individually, we have expressed our concerns about this facility to you. Our reasons are not personal in nature, meaning that we don't have anything against the parties involved, and we certainly aren't anti-children. But there are problems with the site and the street. It is not clear why Kristen Fuller, who has requested the permit to open a daycare facility, has repeatedly asked for continuances. We understand that it is her right to do this, but it's also our right to ask you strongly to just say no to her next request. We have shown up in good faith for every hearing. We believe we have been respectful to you, to Ms. Fuller, and to this process. The last time we showed up for a scheduled hearing, there was a note on the front door of the City Hall letting us know that Ms. Fuller had asked for another continuance, and we all had to go home. We feel that this has gone on long enough. Tuesday, October 24th meeting should be the last opportunity today. Ms. Fuller has to address the concerns of the board and make the changes requested. The property continues to look like a construction site and has for more than a year now. There's heavy equipment parked out there, bucket trucks, materials on the lawn and in the driveway. Thank you for your consideration. It's signed by all of us.
Okay, thank you. That into the record. Paul, could you bring up, I think, prior materials? You can bring up.
Yep,
the
what do you
site-
want?
For the site plan?
Yep.
So that we know.
So, let's see, so the most recent one I have is 613, I think. I'll pull that up and see if that, I think this is the most recent one.
Okay.
I do believe that's right.
Yeah, okay,
would be
good.
right.
Because there's, I mean, there's a ton of plans in here, so.
Being a site, I'll just say, being a site plan, the board has a determinate amount of time to take an action on the plan. As it's a site plan, the applicant can come back at any time with a revised site plan. It doesn't prohibit the applicant from coming back with a revised site plan at any time. So it's just looking at the site plan. We'll be looking at the site plan that's in front of us now. It has come back with a number of iterations, and I think this was the last one submitted, was it a number of months ago this summer?
What do you want to do? Want me to close
Well-
the public hearing?
If the board thinks it's, I mean, since we don't have any additional materials, I think we should vote on
We
this.
can't unilaterally continue it, so we have
No.
to vote one way or another on it
Correct.
tonight if the applicant's not here.
Yes.
And the only consideration is, and I'm not even saying they should get this, the only consideration is, do you pull another hearing and give them, 20 minutes or half hour? I'm not saying you should, I'm just saying that's the other option.
I think in light of not getting another a request.
Make a
that
motion to close
we-
the public hearing.
Second.
A motion's been made with a second. All those in favor to close the hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right, discussion?
We've talked about it at length. I know I mentioned it to the applicant at least 3 or 4 times over the last 6 months. There's some sites that just aren't practical, and I think that given this is a 10,000 square foot lot, and given the parking requirements and the plans, the iterations we've seen, I haven't been swayed to be shown that they're going to be safe and practical for this type of use. So, not knowing anything else and not having any other information based upon the plan in front of us, I'm not in favor of it.
I'm just looking that it doesn't meet the landscaping requirements for parking areas and the landscaping requirements for street frontage for non-residential uses, but it also doesn't meet parking requirements for spaces in particularly traffic flow and safety for maneuvering on the site
I mean, it's aside from
in this configuration.
aside from the general parking issue, like you had mentioned, and not conforming, it's also a practical issue that we had talked about. You just can't queue or store enough cars on this site to definitively ascertain that there won't be people waiting in the streets or queuing in the streets, and that's problematic too. So that's just an additional component.
I know it's like the 4 parking spaces up front for parking for, yes, don't have like the hammerhead to be able to even back out. Otherwise, you're still backing out into the street to back out of those parking spaces. And they're right directly in front of where the drop-off area is for the children. So I don't think it meets the pedestrian and vehicular safety for on-site and egressing from it and for the site plan criteria. At least this iteration.
I do want to say, for the record, and whether I said this to the applicant, and hopefully she watches this video, I definitely hope that she's able to open a daycare center in Fitchburg somewhere, because it's a needed service, even on a lot that has significantly more ability for parking, but that's really what it comes down to, so.
Madam Chair, what are the options of the board at this point on this applicant?
On this application, either approve or deny.
Mhm.
So, one of 2.
Motion to deny the permit.
Okay.
Second.
Seconded.
Motion's been made on the floor to deny the permit, and with a second, and all those in favor of denial, vote aye. All those opposed, say opposed. Alex?
Aye.
Alin?
Aye.
Amanda?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Paula? Aye. Again, we want to thank everyone for their input as well, and participation. for this. Again, this is a site plan, so anybody can come back with another site plan for another time, but at least the one that has been presented before us is the one we've just voted on.
Thank you.
This time. All right, thank you. Welcome. Yes.
Today, I'm Paul Agnesi, 273 Teresa Street. So today, we voted on the application is denied, correct?
Yes.
And you also said that if another site plan was presented, you would take that into consideration?
We have to.
We have to, it's new.
Okay. Does a new application have to be submitted, or is...
And nothing, there's nobody is compelled to submit anything. It depends what anybody wants to do on the parcel drives what the permit's required.
Mr. Agnesi, to answer your question, yes, if she wants to propose an alternative site plan on the same project, we have to hear, we have to go through the same process. With site plans, there's no restrictions with resubmittals. With special permits, which are other aspects that we do, if we deny a special permit, they're not allowed to submit anything for 2 years. But with site plans, they can come back with additional site plans if they're proposing something alternative to what we denied. So just so you know, I mean, there's nothing to think about now, but theoretically she could come back with another plan. But yes, we will let abutters know if that happens.
Okay.
It'd be a new process over again.
Yes.
New hearings, new
But no new
notifications.
application submission?
Well, not at this time, we just.
No, yes, it would require a new application.
Yes, it would.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get at, so...
It would be a brand-new application.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
So this one's closed?
This one is closed.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. All right.
All right, our next hearing is our special permit and site plan review, Final Touch General Contractor, Inc., for a PUD, which is a planned unit development, for 8 residential units located at 122 Old Princeton Road, continue from our September 19th meeting.
Get the big
Good
shot
evening.
today.
For the record, Bill Hannigan with Hannigan Engineering. Chris was at another hearing tonight, so I took over on this one. But if you remember correctly, I started this a while back when we first did the first go-around of the modification. The plans have been resubmitted. The board had a hearing on this already once. There were some questions and comments. Some additional department comments have come in since the last time we met. There was, I believe, a site walk with Paula and Paul along the way. And since that last time, there's also a rendered version, which I sent in, if that can be brought up, Paul. I'm not sure if Chantel sent that over to you.
Yeah, if I have it. Yep, right here. Piece rendered.
So on this version...
I want to clarify, just so the rest of the board doesn't think we left them out, we didn't do a site walk.
Okay.
But I did talk to Chris, did talk to Chris, and Paul and I went over it, so I didn't want people...
That's what happened.
I didn't want everyone else to think we left them out.
That's what happens when I'm not fully involved.
No worries. More clarification.
I appreciate it. So the project basically, since the last meeting, has not changed relative to the layout and the parking and the drainage and all those aspects of it. We have added some additional screening up towards the front of the property in that area right there. That is to diminish any headlight glare that might spill over from the parking spaces that face the street. Additionally, what we did was we extended the length of the paved area. As you are aware, the roadway is not in pristine condition. As part of the previous proposal that was submitted, it was a less dense project. We've increased the density because of some of the utility requirements that were being requested by the city for a sewer line and, well, for water line mainly. We're driving the cost up to get to the point where the additional units were required, which then spurred the requirement for the roadway to be upgraded. So the roadway is going to be upgraded with basically resurfacing. There's a mix of old pavement and grindings out there now. That's going to be basically pulverized to some degree, returned, regraded and compacted, and then a 2-inch binder layer of pavement will be placed over the full length from Fifth Mass Turnpike all the way up to the property. 20 feet wide, just binder under this proposal, and then on the site, we would have both binder and top coat with curbing, et cetera. So those improvements were significant. The applicant is more than happy to do them. It provides better water for the project, better fire protection for the project, and better water and fire protection for the area. Each of the existing water connections that are tied into the 2-inch line, which is feeding that whole area, will be reconnected into the new water line as well. So that's all part of the project. So I believe the DPW engineering made some comments. They sent in a marked up set of plans. I'm not sure if the board got that. Chris went through and adjusted the notes that they had questions on, made those changes, and that's the plan that's in front of you, which was, I believe, the revised set was submitted to the board. I believe that was submitted yesterday, just to kind of clean up those last comments instead of going through the comments at the meeting and then have to follow up with a set of plans. We basically, they were quick enough to be able to make those. So you have the final plans. I believe, do you have the email correspondence back and forth between Chris and Jeff Hillman?
No, but Jeff's here.
Jeff's here. So Jeff, if you're here, you can confirm the discussion that we're having. That I brought a copy of it in case the board wants it for the record, but that way the documentation of me saying Jeff said everything's all set.
We were going to ask him. Don't worry, Bill.
Jeff actually did reiterate that or deny it, but I think all in all, the project's come a long way. I think it's really turned out well. I think that it's going to be an asset to the community. We do have one more stop. We will have to go back to conservation just to amend the existing order of conditions on the project, but that'll be once we're done this process, so that we have a final on the plans from the planning board.
And you added comments too about the maintenance of the path. The
Yes.
cart path.
Yeah, that's on the plan now as well. Chris went out and walked it, and he does now show the reconfiguration around the outlet of the drainage basin. Okay, and it is relatively clear. He said, they might need to go back and cut some brush and pick up some loose limbs that have fallen over the years, but the applicant's willing to go back and clean that area up.
Okay.
But
We're talking also to the north as well, where it starts from Old Princeton Road.
Obviously, we're going to have to work with conservation on that part of it, yes.
Okay. That would also be like a condition of maintaining the access path.
Right.
To be just clean.
Condition of approval.
Clean and maintain.
And that could be incorporated into the documents, yes.
Yep. Jeff, can you just give input that DPW's engineering is good with everything, or otherwise?
Yes, Chris and I were emailing back and forth about the drawings. I believe he incorporated everything that I had asked for, that engineering and the separate departments had asked for.
Excellent.
And if anybody doesn't have any questions on this, could you bring up the rendering just so that we can show, it's been a little while, just so refresh people's memories what these are going to look like.
Let's see here. Nope, wrong
We've been
one.
seeing these plans for so long, it's like just parts.
Hold on. Is it in the submittal package?
Should be. It may be a separate attachment.
Oh, there we go. That's what you want, Paul?
There we go. Yep, there we go.
So it's a good mix of materials on the buildings, as well as having the gables crossing, and the roof lines really kind of, make each unit a little bit more individual, which is kind of the goal.
I think they look great. I think if they look similar to that, I'm ecstatic. Looks fantastic.
All right. Does any board members have any questions? I'm going to open it up to the public, too.
Great-looking project.
Thank you.
I love the location, close to Route 2. I think anybody would want to live there. And the improvements you're going to make to the site and to the area, I think, speak well. Looks good.
Thank you.
Good. Lynn, you think? Or Alex?
No, I just want to say I really like the renderings. I like the color. I like the style, everything. It looks really good.
glad to see you're including a garage. Just kind of nice.
Yeah, every unit has a
Nice
garage.
feature.
Yep.
Everything looks good to me, so I'm looking forward to seeing these things done.
All right, more housing. Is there anybody virtual out in the public?
Let me look. I have no hands raised.
Okay. And I think by this time, too, we've got feedback. We know we got DPW feedback, but we've got checkoff from fire department.
And I did have one question, because I'm going over all my old notes, and it might not be fair to you, Bill, because you weren't here. It was to Chris. So when we had talked before, the conversation, the original Denell permit said that the width of the road was going to be 22 feet, and you just said 20, which is fine as long as police, fire, and DPW are fine.
I think that's what they requested, because that's a typical fire lane width.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was, I think on the site, it may be different. The site around the parking requirements, I believe, are 24 feet for parking.
Yeah,
So
no,
that-
no, this was specific to, this is the comment about repaving Old Princeton Road, 22-foot wide roadway to the extent practical. Because we had, I remember when we were here last time, Chris was saying there were sections that kind of go in and sections that come out because of, wetlands or
Utilities,
trees or
yeah.
whatever the heck it is. So we had said that wherever you can get it to 22, get it to 22. If again, if city departments are fine with 20,
I would prefer to have an even dimension. I think for plowing, it'd be easier for them to just go with the 20 feet.
yeah, I mean,
We're going to have to obviously mill and treat wider than that for a shoulder, so there'll be some room on either side.
yeah, I suppose that's fine. And then I noticed he got all our comments from last time. We had changed the fence to vinyl unless the abutter just said otherwise, and we'd never heard. So vinyl. I saw the comment on the plan set.
Yeah, so you have that plus the vegetation in front of it. Great. That. And is there anybody in our virtual attendees?
I still have no hands raised. No.
I have a question.
Yes.
As far as us moving forward with approving it, how do you think we should condition the maintenance of the path and or the vegetation? Is it a homeowner association or is it a condo association?
Yeah, so it'll be a permit condition, and they'll have to include it in the condo docs unless he rents it. Which, if he rents it, all the easier because he's the owner, so he'll have to maintain it. But yes, I agree. We probably should be clear that the condition will be, and I already had it as a condition, walking trail to be cleared and maintained. It's going to be cleared and maintained in perpetuity, so it'll have to be cleared and maintained by the association as well.
Okay.
It's also was always the intent of that, which just escaped me till just now, but it's in my prior notes that that's a public walking trail. That's not just an association walking trail. Because that was always a permit condition. That was one of the original Denell conditions, was that you got to provide something for the neighborhood.
Yeah, I can't speak for the owner on that. I think if it was a prior condition that he bought the property with that condition, then that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, if it ends up being an issue long-term, he can come back to modify the permit, and we can talk. I mean, if we have...
Start off with the police department and stuff like that.
Exactly, and if
yeah.
the police say that they can't handle it, come back to us, and we'll amend it somehow to put up signage or whatever you have to put up, but...
All right, and the typical conditions of submittal of master deed and other aspects, stormwater plan, recording of the plan, of a standard. Okay. Any further questions?
All set.
All right. Does the board have enough material?
Yes, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
A motion has been made to close the hearing. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? All right, discussion?
Looks great.
Thank you.
Thank
Start
you for...
digging.
one question we forgot to ask. What is the time frame? Always forget to ask this question.
I have to check with Eliza on that because of the fact that... He's right here. Okay.
I was just going to say, I think he's right behind you.
Right there.
There.
So here he is, the developer owner, and you're asking about the timeline of when you want to start construction.
I want to do like a SAP if it's possible. We start, want to jump like November, December, whenever it's ready for it. So I would like to get going.
What's
as
your
possible.
anticipated completion? 18 months?
I'll see 2 years.
2 years?
So if we say a year to start, 3 years to finish, and then
That'd
if
be
you
great.
get to the 3 years and God forbid we have another housing crisis, you come back and we'll talk at that
Yeah,
point.
no problem. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, any further, as in conditions as discussed, what they're talking about, maintenance of the trail, stormwater, off-site improvements such as the water and sewer upgrades and the pavement, landscaping per plans, architecture rendering per plans. Anything?
Yeah, I'll read a couple of the other ones I have, but
Okay.
you have them pretty much. I think the only other thing we talked about was that, well, I just want to go to my notes. We had a conversation about trash at one point, didn't we? They're city totes for trash. Oh, no, this would be private because it's an 8-unit, but they'd be totes, right? I think we talked about this. All right, so no dumpster because it doesn't show on the plan. So no dumpster. Trash totes to be removed, to be are they, do we know, are they going to be in the garages? Is that the intention, where the totes will stay?
Probably like front of the units.
In front of the units? Okay.
Good for them.
All right. That's fine. They're not all, as long as they're not at the street. That's
Right.
trash totes to be, I'll just put next to or within units.
All
Okay.
right.
And then I had, 20-foot wide binder at minimum on Old Princeton Road, walking trail to be cleared and maintained in perpetuity, walking trail and access throughout the trail into the water portion of the rear of the lot for public access, subject to any DPW or department comments that you guys have already addressed, I think all of them, but just whatever's, if there's any that are outstanding, just so we don't have to mill over them. Designs, final construction set to be similar to the elevations that we put up on the screen. 1 year to start the project, 3 years to complete. No dumpsters and trash totes to be next to or within units. I think that covers them all, and I'll put that in the form of a motion.
A motion has been made with a second from Amanda. And all those in favor say aye, all those opposed say opposed, and we'll take roll call. Alex?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Amanda?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Paula? Aye.
Good luck.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you all.
Yay.
Appreciate it.
Madam Chair, if I could request that one of the items get taken out of order, which would be the BOC Fitchburg Trust. We sent in an email requesting a continuance of that. And I'm not sure if you needed anything more than
You
the
just wanna
email.
ask if anyone's here for it.
Is there anybody here for this matter? It's the last item on our agenda.
Is 0 Cobbler Drive, BOC Fitchburg Trust, Brito Oil. No? Okay.
No, we can make a continuance. That question is, should we open the hearing and continue it?
I don't think it matters.
Matter.
I think you need to just, if it has not been opened already, you should open it because
That's fine.
Our
there's a time
other
frame.
timeframe.
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise you have to,
Did you
Advertise.
bring a form for him to sign now?
I have a form
Perfect.
if you want.
Because he's
that.
going to have to sign it, right?
I think I have it for 90 days, if that's okay, right on the form. I'll bring it up to you.
A continuance for 90 days? No,
Yes.
No. She's just saying that's worst case scenario.
Yes.
It'll go to next month,
Yeah.
but that's if something happens, you don't show up next month, we don't have to track you down to have it signed again.
right.
It's for the decision, essentially.
it's-
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, let's see.
I can come to you.
Yeah, it's for the continuance.
You want to officially open?
So we will officially open the site plan review for BOC Fitchburg Trust, 4,000 square foot industrial storage building. This is also going to be subsequent to a ZBA special permit for contractor's yard located at 0 Cobbler Drive. They've already
continue.
underneath ZBA permit for that.
Second?
Paul's made a motion with a second. in order to allow continuance. And all those in favor say aye. All those
Aye.
opposed say oppose. And I'll take roll call. Alex?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Amanda?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Paula? Aye.
And just to be clear, that's technically for next month's agenda, which is November 28th.
And Bill, I just would ask a question, BOC Fitchburg Trust, just to submit some documentation regarding the trust document. Who's the manager and just legal establishment of the trust. Oh. Right.
The document that she was asking me to sign was for an extension of time for the
Yes.
project, which is, I don't think we need that yet. What we're asking for tonight is just to continue, to open and continue the public hearing. to the
But it's a
next meeting.
site plan, so it gets constructively approved after 60 days if we don't do
90,
something.
90 is what she's saying, but have we...
You still got, you still have one more time to go, yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yep, you do
You just
technically.
don't want to sign it?
No,
Doesn't
I don't have
matter.
any problem signing it. I just want- what I'm looking for is what is the date that we're at right now? If we're already at 30 days, then we should be fine.
It's going to be 90 days from the date the city clerk stamped it in.
That she's looking at.
I stamped them for September 29th.
Okay. So we got,
So we're a
yeah, we're
month
fine
right
till,
now.
we're fine till next month.
So it'll be 60 days by our next meeting.
90 is the...
Right, it'll be 60 days by our next meeting. If, God forbid, we don't have everything next meeting, it'll be 90 by our December meeting. Well, it's really just so we don't have to chase someone down in the future if we run into a time issue. I think every engineer has always said we'll never constructively approve something, but we have 3 in the last 20 years that have been constructively approved, so. Yeah, well.
All right, so we're just,
Bill, just a practical question. Are you anticipating, and I know that you might not know the answer to this, but I know you're hoping, are you anticipating that you'll have a ZBA decision in November?
But what happened was when we went to the ZBA this past weeks ago, I think it was, and we got to the meeting and they said that they had just received the materials even though we had submitted them on the 9th of September. So we got pushed to the 14th of November. With the use on this property already being a construction contractor's yard and the special permit for the ZBA being for that same use, we're not anticipating any difficulties, but we can't guarantee that. So our meeting's going to be on the 14th. If we don't get approved that night, then we'll probably ask to be continued to the December meeting.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because we've already been instructed that we weren't going to be allowed to approve it until the ZBA does.
Yeah,
So.
and it was kind of worded that way on the agenda, so that's kind of, I thought it'd be fine.
Perfect.
So, yeah, so I'll sign this, and then if we don't, if we're not approved by the night of the 14th, we'll then ask that the meeting on the 28th get extended or get continued to December.
My suggestion would be to still come in November. That way you can give the overview. We can see if we have questions.
Okay.
That way you don't run the risk of coming in December and then we have a question, because we're not going to think about it until you're in front of us. So my suggestion would be here either way. And worst case scenario, we continue it.
Whatever you'd like us to do.
Great. Thanks, Bill.
thank you. Our next item is a site plan review modification, Fitchburg Land Property Owner LLC, extension request for 2 years for a proposed warehouse and distribution facility located at 0 Airport Road, which is Crawford Street.
All right. We got a hand raised.
Remote for that?
Yes. Haley? You are unmuted.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Haley
Perfect.
with Fitchburg Land Property Owner, the applicant. So sorry we're not there in person tonight. Appreciate you having us on the agenda. If you recall, the warehouse that was permitted a little less than a year ago, located at the intersection kind of Crawford Street and Airport Road, where Crawford turns into Airport Road. This is the 40-acre site that is located both in Fitchburg and Lunenburg. So we have permits for site plan approval in both municipalities. We are here asking for a 2-year extension if the board approves to extend the permits. We need additional time for some environmental investigations and testing that's ongoing for material that we found on site during our geotech investigations. Additionally, this would just align better with the timing of the expiration of the permits in the town of Lunenburg. We have one more year than is on the permits now. So if the board wasn't open to a 2-year extension, we would certainly accept just a year extension if that would be better. But that's basically a description of why we're here tonight. We're just asking simply for an extension of the permits that were granted last fall.
Okay.
Thank you, Haley. Hey, did GFI take title on the property? Are you currently owning it, or does the FRA still own it?
Nope, FRA still owns the property.
Okay. Perfect. I have no problem. I mean, quite honestly, the time frame is, I'm sure they want it sooner the better anyway. I don't have a problem. It might just save us a meeting 13 months from now, so.
No, I don't have an issue. I would just have the 2 years from the date it was filed with the clerk's office, whatever the beginning date is for the permit.
2 years from the end of this permit, is that what you're saying?
No, for when it was officially activated with the filing in the clerk's office, when it was recorded. Site plan.
Madam Chair, I think that was December
Decision.
15th.
Was December 15th?
I believe so. I think that's when the permit
Yes,
was
it would be 2
recorded.
years from that date.
Right, but they're asking for a 2-year extension from now. That would only be a year if you did December 15th, 2022. If you did a 2-year extension from December 15th, 2022, that's a year and a month and a half. I mean, quite honestly, what I was saying to you, Paul, is if you want to tie it to that.
Tie it to that, add 2 years on.
Exactly. If you want to tie it to that date, that permit is going to expire December 15th, 24, right? Then you make it a year or two from 24 if you want to do that. I just say make it 2 years from today, but that's just me. So.
However, the board would like to.
2 years from our December meeting in 2024, 2025, excuse me. It doesn't matter. It's a technical issue. I don't care. I'll let you decide. You're the chair.
I guess the question would be, the timeline you're looking at for the 2 years end in 2024 or 2025?
2025.
2025. All right, so we'll do 2 years from the original permit approval.
December 15th, 2025?
Yeah, on top of that.
That's fine.
Just add
Put that in the form of
add 2
motion.
more years to that. Second. All right, December 2025. A motion's been made with the second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say opposed. Roll call. Alex?
Aye.
Alin?
Aye.
Amanda?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Paula? Aye.
Thank you, Haley.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Moving right along. Next application, public hearing. We have site plan review, City of Fitchburg, Fitchburg Public Library renovation proposal located at 610 Main Street.
Good evening, and thank you for having us. My name is Anthony DeLuzio. I'm with Collier's Project Leaders as the owner's project manager representing the city of Fitchburg. And with me tonight is Jeff Hoover from Tappe Associate Architects. On the phone, you have Deb Hinkle, the director of the library. And with us tonight is Matt Brunn on the board of trustees for the library. So thank you for having us. Over the past few months, we've met with police, fire, DPW. We've gone through several iterations of the plans and the documents that were submitted in the past couple weeks to the board for the hearing tonight. Jeff is prepared to give us an overview of that information. I know you've had it for a while, and we've all seen various iterations of it. We're prepared to do that and then answer any technical questions or concerns that you have. We're hoping to have this hearing opened and get any other feedback that needs to be addressed during the hearing period. So with that, I don't know whether you want to have a more formal review of the documents that were submitted, or you have any direct questions before we begin.
I think you're all set.
Huh?
Go ahead. Present away.
All right.
So I think the best graphic to reference is probably the colored one, which has the whole site plan.
I was trying to find where it is. Is it under the planning board detail sheet?
There is the word diagram, I think, is in the title.
This is all we have.
No,
up
it's
here.
the third one down, as it turns out. I
This
believe.
one?
Yes.
Oh, perfect.
Right, so you probably all recognize this from our previous meetings. We made a number of modifications from where we originally started, a lot of them having to do with parking layouts and landscaping and other accommodations. But if we start up at the northwest corner of the site, the parking lot there off of Main Street, that one has been modified from head-in parking to parallel parking, and all of it moved to one side, with the exception of the accessible parking space. And a more generous accommodation is made at the end for turning around within that lot. But the basic, important move we made there, I think, is to change that lot to be staff only, because it's a bit of a more challenging lot to get in and out of. So that'll be only for staff coming in off of Main Street. And I think that'll make a safer arrangement for visitors to the site, especially as you think of small children crossing that lot with cars trying to navigate a more challenging, technically legal, but challenging parking area. So that's a positive change we've made to that lot up there. We've also provided the 3-foot buffer zone at the property line that we hadn't shown previously on that lot. If we go sort of around the building here and look along Newton Place, we, of course, have changed from the diagonal head-in parking we had in there originally to the parallel parking shown here now. And then going down to the Boulder Lot Drive, one of the changes there was to reduce the capacity to be 10 or less, so that we mitigate that landscape requirement that comes with lots that are 10 or more. We've also, at the edge there, also provided the 3-foot buffer zone we previously hadn't. In addition, we've provided the landscape buffer to the generator and to the transformer. And this lot is an existing lot that we're making improvements to. Something we haven't changed is the driveway that goes out onto Newton Place. That it remains in its existing location, and we reviewed that with police and fire and DPW, and they're okay with that. If it were new, we probably wouldn't put one there, but it's existing. They were comfortable with that, with the caveat that we designate that as an entrance only from certain directions. And so we'll take care of that with signage and encourage everybody else to go in to that lot off of the Boulder Drive entrance, which is more generous, more accommodating altogether. We've increased the buffer zone. Yeah, there's that existing curb cut where it is. I should say the other entrance into the lot off of Boulder Drive, we are shifting over 3 feet. That curb cut will be in a different position now. We're also making sure that we have the 8-foot-long drive coming into the site from the edge of parking, and that's accommodated here as well. We've increased the buffer zone between Boulder Drive to the edge of parking by to about 2.5 feet. We couldn't do more than that without compromising the ability to really push parking back on this lot where there already is existing parking. We've also graphically indicated where we intend there to be snow storage areas, and also included, a graphic representation where off-street loading will happen on the site. Let's see. Oh, one thing we hadn't done previously is indicated a on-site location for the dumpster, which is currently off-site, but we're now removing it onto site, and that is now shown on the plans next to the delivery and loading zone.
That's the reason why I pulled that up to show everyone else what we realized during our site review, that the dumpster's across the street. So I'm glad that one's being moved.
Right. I think that covers, all of the changes and accommodations we've made through the course of our series of meetings with you all and others, and I think we've come to a place where we feel like we have a very workable, very safe, very accommodating site plan in all these various regards. The other issue that I think that came up was a 20-foot setback from the frontage areas. And of course, the existing library building is less than 20 feet and doesn't have a landscape buffer there. Neither does the side of that. And of course, this is in a zero lot line site, so we could be building straight out to the property line. So we felt like we could reasonably request that we weren't restrained by that 20-foot setback. So that, I think, is all we have to report at this time.
Just a couple questions on Newton Place. Okay, I see it there. You do have a designated drop-off area in front of the doors.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yes, and that is proximal to the book drop into the building. So.
As well. Okay. Very good. And then also the dumpster enclosures, as long as it's not wooden, just something that's appropriate. We use like decorative, either it's going to be metal or vinyl or something long-lasting.
Anticipating white vinyl.
Doesn't have to be white.
Doesn't have to be
I said
white.
that the other day in a meeting. Someone threw the white out. As long as it's vinyl, you can choose the color.
I mean, some
The
cases,
dark colors don't weather well. That's why we usually say white or tan. But you have
Billy prefers white.
that again. Vinyl is all I prefer. We did have one a while ago. Did like a maroon, and after like 2 years in the sun, it doesn't look maroon anymore. So, but I did want to mention to you guys, it's come a long way. I mean, I feel like I've seen 30 iterations of this over the last 6 months. I did have a couple quick things. One was a general note. If I remember correctly, when we had talked a while ago, one of my big issues was the transformer was going to be on the Boulder Drive side. I like how it's now tucked closer to the building. That's fantastic. We had talked about when we worked with you guys to create this Fay Club parking, the side against the Fay Club. The conversation was, and I know you have it here, van accessible and staff. So two things: obviously encouraging staff to use primarily that parking to free up the lower parking for visitors. But more importantly, I don't see it on the plan. It could just be not
signage.
Yeah, a sign that says staff parking and accessible parking only. Or no public park. I don't want to say no public parking because you want to make sure that anyone needs a handicap accessible access, especially if they're on that side of the building. They're not dissuaded from using that lot. So a sign there, I guess you guys can work with police and DPW as how it's worded. And you guys, they know better than I do.
And if I may, to that point, what you also don't see here is the lighting and the security that we've discussed with police and fire. So those will show up on other plans.
Good.
and then I know there was prior comments from DPW also about flashing beacons or crosswalk installation.
Yes.
Yep. And any other sidewalk improvement if there needs to be on the connecting side across the walkway.
The driveway on Newton Place, is that, you said it's exit or entrance only?
That is an exit. Unless you're coming down Newton Place, then it could be an entrance. At least that was the criteria that we discussed with, I think, DPW.
Wait,
if I've got that right.
Just said entrance only.
Was it just entrance only?
Well, you said entrance
That's
only.
what I thought it was exit.
You kept saying it's
Oh my
going to be
gosh.
entrance only.
It's exit only.
Yeah, that's what
And
I
said
thought.
entrance.
I thought that the last meeting that's what.
Exit
yeah.
only.
My suggestion would be if you're doing that, you can't have alternate rules for Newton Place, meaning whether it's turning onto Newton Place or being on Newton Place. There should just be signs that say do not enter.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's confusing. If someone's coming down Newton Place and they take that right and people see them doing it, next time they're taking the left on Boulder Drive on Newton, they're like, oh, we can go there. So it's probably just easier if you just put do not enter signs facing out. That would be my
very
suggestion.
straightforward when it's done that way, so we'll just do it exit only.
I think it's easier just doing that. I mean, it's not like if someone's coming down Newton Place, they can just take the right onto Boulder and the right into the lot.
Right.
It's not like it's an inconvenience for them.
All right, any board member have any further questions on this? They did come before us last month to try to get some feedback on preliminary and informally, and this is the formal application. Is there anybody on our virtual attendees who have any comments on this as a public hearing?
I got nothing. Jeff, DPW engineering's good with everything? I know you guys have been in all the meetings too, and Nick has.
this is Nick here. I just want to say I agree with the exit only for that Newton Place curb cut, thinking about it. We went back and forth a little bit with the design team and kind of trying to figure out ways to reduce confusion at that curb cut just because it's so close to the intersection. So our goal was to try to stop cars from backing up into Newton Place or Boulder, and I think having an exit only solves that. So.
Perfect. Sorry, Nick. I would have called on you. I didn't see your name on there.
No, it's all good. I actually just joined. I'm home with my son. I had to take a break for bath time, but I'm back.
Good luck. All right. There's no hands raised that I see,
No?
so I think we're good.
And we know this is going to be a transformative project, for sure, and looking forward to it. Thank you for your efforts. Are there any further public comment? No? Does the board think you have enough information this
Make a
evening?
motion to close the public hearing.
All right. A motion's been made with the second to close the hearing. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? Okay, discussion.
No, I'm good. I'm ready to vote. I make a
Okay.
motion to approve the Fitchburg Public Library renovation proposal, just subject to those two changes, the do not enter signs on the Newton Place access and adding signage for employee and accessible parking on the northwest side.
And then incorporate also the, any police, fire, DPW and the off-site improvements about beacons and such.
Whatever
Okay.
DPW comments were, that's our normal permit condition. I agree.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. All right. That being said, there's a motion with a
I'll second.
second. All right. All
for
those
a
in
second.
favor say aye. All those opposed say opposed, and we'll take roll call. Alex?
Aye.
Alin?
Aye.
Amanda?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Paula? Aye. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And just a quick update, the city did issue a contract this week to the responsible low bidder, so we have a contractor in D.A. Sullivan, and we'll be getting going very soon.
When's
thank you.
the anticipated start? Matt, I don't know if you know better than anyone.
Start of construction, probably around December, January. We'll be mobilizing. The library's moving out, currently packing up. Hope to be down a Boulder Drive soon. And then we've got abatement and demolition keyed up, ready to go.
Fantastic. Good to hear.
Thank you.
All right, good luck, guys.
Thank you. All right. Our next item, another site plan review, also transformative, Applewild School, proposed dormitory located at 36 Flat Rock Road.
So you guys have heard the spiel by now. Whatever you want up on the screen, I'll pull up for you.
Would you mind pulling up the architectural drawings that we
Sure.
issued today?
Sure, can do that. Do you want yours or do you want the colored site?
Mine start with
Okay. All right. Okay, hold on. So you want, so I have a revision plan set here. I have this,
Yeah, try that one.
this one.
We can start with that. That's fine. It's the image of the front of the building. My name is Greg McIntosh from Lincoln Architects. I'm joined here by Rick Salvo of Engineering Alliance, here to make the presentation. As you guys know, we've been through some of the preliminary meetings and the departmental review meetings, which case some of the comments that have come up, I believe we've addressed them, and we'll be going through an overview of how we've accommodated those. One of the things that came up in the departmental review was a request from the building department to indicate the total height of the building on that based off of the average grade. Our current drawing set that we issued for presentation tonight does accommodate that. It's 3 inches under the maximum height allowable based off of mean grade. We did have to change the roof angle slightly to get that, but we've accommodated that in the process. A couple of other notes that came in the departmental review, some of which Rick was working with, screening for the dumpster. Yes, vinyl.
Perfect.
I was thinking runway orange, though, but I don't know.
Hey, go for it. No one will see it.
No, I'm actually thinking about gray to match that lower portion
Perfect.
of that area right there.
Like it.
And there's a couple of other things we need to work on, we're working on right now. One of the things is the site lighting drawings. We're going to be going with dark sky compliant lighting and enough lighting for the security of the building and enough to safely light a pathway for the students between this dormitory and the main campus, which will be well before you get to Prospect or Flat Rock Road, so it won't be interfering with that. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Rick, and so he can go over an overview in detail, more technical in the nature of the site.
Rick, what do you want up on that? Do you want, I have Apple Out School graphics?
Yeah, the
That one?
graphics, that'd be great.
Sure. Oh, hold on, I paused the share. All right. I got a million windows open here, so bear with me. All right, is this where you want me to start?
We
Oh,
don't see what you
hasn't done it yet. Hold on. Let's do, there we go. There we go.
There you go, that looks right. All right, thank you again for the record. My name is Rick Salvo with Engineering Alliance with the site civil engineers. This particular parcel of land, which is surrounded by many that are owned by the Applewild School, is known as 36 Flat Rock Road. It's about 3.65 acres of land. As you can see, it's currently occupied by an existing dormitory that contains 3 faculty apartments and 10 student dorms. Has a paved driveway, turnaround area, and a parking area that accommodates that existing dormitory. And also partially on the site are the 2 soccer fields that straddle that and the adjacent property that's owned by the school. If you flip to the next slide here, which is the existing conditions plan, shows it in a little bit better detail there. The entire site is located in the Residence A zoning district. The topography basically slopes from west to east down at the intersection of Flat Rock Road, Prospect, and Burbank is about elevation 723. That raises up to about elevation 758 up at the westerly property line. There's no wetland resource areas on this site, and there's no floodplain on this site. If you flip to the next slide, the proposal is to keep the existing dormitory building that's in there in place, slightly widen the 2 roadways out to a width of 24 feet to accommodate any emergency vehicles and two-way traffic heading around the site. The areas where you see the paved roadways, there's already paved roadways in those areas. However, we will be widening them out to some degree. The existing dormitory building itself has a footprint of about 7,940 square feet. That particular building will contain 6 faculty apartments and 20 student dorms. So that would create a total on the site of 9 faculty apartments and 30 student dorms. We've reconfigured the parking and moved it in front. There's 9 parking spaces to accommodate the 9 faculty apartments as the students don't drive. We have accommodations for up to 2 handicap spaces in that parking field of 9 parking spaces. If you flip to the next slide here. So we'll be bringing a 6-inch water main up the driveway that's at the bottom of the screen on the southerly end of the screen. We did have discussions with the water department. It'll be a cut-in T. It'll end at with a hydrant at the end. It'll be within 100 feet of the fire department connection for the building. Domestic water and fire service will be connected to that service. We'll also be running a 6-inch sewer service up with a series of manholes that'll handle the sewage for the dormitory as well. We sited the dorm in an area that's relatively flat, given the fact that there really isn't much spot on this site that's relatively flat, but there's about a 4-foot grade change in this area. It ranges from about 758 to 762. We split the difference. We're setting the finished floor elevation about 761.5, so we can sort of balance things out, really not have any export at the site. We can take the cut area and flop it into the fill area. And as far as stormwater is concerned, we'll be grabbing the flow from the driveways and parking lots in a series of deep sump-hooded catch basins, discharge them to a sediment forebay, which would overflow into a D basin. We have sized that detention pond to have a minimum 1 foot of freeboard in the 100-year storm event, utilizing Atlas 14, which results in a net decrease in both the rate and volume of stormwater in the post-development condition at each one of the design points. That's kind of like the 30,000-foot overview. I think with that, I'll turn it back to the board for any questions or comments you might have.
Thank you. I think they also provided the renderings too, but on the site plan, I think you've checked off all the boxes. You've got the dark sky compliant, you've got the dumpster, you've got the parking, and the parking accommodating both of the buildings, just all the activities on the site. Regards to that, your travel lanes are fine.
The only thing that came up, I appreciate all the comments we had, and we met twice, and you guys did your homework, and I answered a lot of the questions that we had earlier. The only thing that came up, reading fire comments, and I get that they're fine with it, but did you have any conversation with them about just removing that overhang for 36 Flat Rock?
Oh, the portico chair on the existing building?
The portico chair at the moment is intended to stay. We could certainly have that discussion with them if
Well, because I assume you saw the comment. They have concerns. They had concerns about it, but because there's a secondary access, I guess they're okay with it. You know, obviously my concern is it's only 12 feet clearance between.
What are you talking about?
Hold on. I gotta.
Yeah, if you pull up the drawing.
Let me get one of these screens up here. Hold on. This one's fine.
You can zoom in there.
Yeah.
That shows it pretty well.
So right here, there's like a covered drive under area.
Oh, okay, but that's historic too, isn't it?
Not only that, it's existing. We're not touching it.
No, but that's part of the existing facility there.
Right.
And you have a 12-foot.
Can you zoom on it a little bit more?
Yeah.
Or is it possible?
Yeah.
Because what I did, we were cognizant of that and the ability for an emergency vehicle to be able to get by there, and that's why we kept a 12-foot lane next to it.
Okay.
Right.
So if anything, if an emergency vehicle needed to get by and for some reason couldn't get up the other road, or they didn't want to back up and wanted to be able to loop all around, they could get past.
Okay.
I mean, the fire's comments was fire department access near the existing overhang on the existing building could be a concern. However, there appears to be another access road to access the property. So basically, they're saying it's a problem. We can work around it. My point was, it's so unnecessary. It doesn't need to be there. I get obviously this cost and demo, but just something to think about. It doesn't have to be a permanent condition, but just something to think about. It could end up creating a safety hazard, especially for a ladder truck. If the ladder truck gets there, has to spend time maneuvering, or heaven forbid hits it.
I think there's plenty of alternatives, though. There's even a wraparound in the driveway with the circular.
Yeah, you can use the lower access too.
Right,
Certainly.
so- well, it's existing feature of the house as well. So
Correct.
yeah, just
One other thing to note about the parking spaces that Rick has put in front, we're going to be putting the infrastructure in for electric car charging stations as well. It's the school's direction to us to make this building as energy efficient as possible, and there will be some potential for solar panels up on the roofing structure, and so we've created space in the basement to handle, the electrical requirements for that.
yes, you got your truss designs all set for solar. Wait.
Well, you have to add 10 pounds a square foot, and we've been in a lot of discussions with our structural engineer regarding that.
Yeah.
Good, thinking ahead with that. That's great. Any board member have any question?
No, we do have a hand raised, and I don't know if it's a mistake,
Virtually?
but virtually,
Okay.
public.
Okay.
It could be a mistake, but it's Aldo Mazzaferro, who's also the applicant for Ivor Johnson. So Aldo, I don't know if that was intentional, but if you have something you want to say in regards to Applewood, you're welcome to.
Oh, sorry, that was unintentional.
Okay.
No,
thank
no
you.
problem. I just wanted to make sure. All right, we'll get back to that.
All right. Any further public comment? That was the only hand raised.
Virtually, there might be people in here that might want to have comment, though.
Any, I guess, Alin or Alex, I can't see you.
No comment at this time from me.
Okay.
Yeah, none from me either.
All right.
Does anyone in the public have any comment?
Go ahead. Yep, just please come to the podium. State your name for the record. Thank
I'm
you.
Sophia Bogdasarian, and actually my house was in the picture.
Door.
100 Flat Rock Road. And I'm here to 100% support this dormitory that Applewild wants to build. Full disclosure, I'm a past parent of 4 kids that went to Applewild. I'm also, full disclosure, I did send my youngest son to a boarding school in Connecticut. So I understand junior high school boarding situations. And the fact that Applewild School and the city of Fitchburg has the ability to do this, I think, is phenomenal. It's fulfilling a need that's extraordinary, and I think it would behoove the city of Fitchburg not to approve this, because this is fabulous for us. So that's all I wanted to say. I 100% approve of it. I know there's another neighbor here. I don't know how the Donleys feel, but obviously the dormitory is on the side of the school itself, so it shouldn't affect the traffic on Prospect Street. But that's what I wanted to say. The only other thing I would say is parents like to visit their children that are boarding, and you might want to add a couple of more parking spaces. But that's...
The original plan only had two or three
Wow.
parking spaces. I agree with you, Sophia. That was one of the things I said.
I
too,
used
so-
to visit my son every weekend, so.
Yep. Yep. Joanne, did you
Thank you.
want to say something? No. No, that's fine.
Okay.
I-
All right.
I did want to, like I said, commend everyone meeting ahead of time. It helped kind of iron out a lot of issues, and I think I agree with what Sophia said. I think it's fantastic. And we just found out the other day, I don't think the board yet knows this, but Drapanos is getting paved in April, May, which will be another nice thing for the neighborhood. So CHC, the Health Connections, that was part of their permit 10, 12 years ago. They finally get the money and they're going to do it. So another good thing for the neighborhood. So
Great. Great. Any further comments from DP?
No, it appears to be a well-thought-out and comprehensive plan for the building, and I think it'll be a great addition to the Applewild campus, and I'm glad to see that the school is successful and expanding. I'm a little surprised at the architectural renderings of the building itself. I absolutely love it, and there's no problem with it at all. I'm just a little surprised, knowing what's up there already, that the architects didn't go with some classic colonial look to the building. And
Well, my attempt to do that was to build in some of the feature of it, but also to step the process forward. It's easy to imitate what's already there. I wanted to take some of the roof lines into consideration, but I also wanted to make a step forward.
Sure.
And kind of give it its own personality, if you will.
Yeah.
A lot of it has to do with the cost of materials and what's attainable and things of that nature. You have to balance out quite a few issues at that point.
no, I understand completely.
All right. Great. I also say, each of the roadway widths are 24 feet wide, so I understand, with the vents and things up there, you've got plenty of space along one side to be able to, accommodate some large crowds now and then, too.
And just let me read over my notes from the meeting the other day. Not anticipating any blasting. The O&M plan, which we talked about, has to be recorded, obviously created and recorded. We had talked about security cameras. you can work with the FPD on that if you need to. Otherwise, if you're satisfied, it's just a safety issue.
Yeah, there'll be a separate consultant directly to the school, in which case, after that consultant's brought in, my electrical engineer will provide them power. But that's something that, the school wants to take under the wing and run with for, discretionary reasons, and I don't blame them.
Yeah, no problem at all.
And I was, timeline? I know you're looking at
Next
it.
week.
Yeah,
Let's
an
go.
expedited timeline. You like to
Oh,
be
no,
able-
I mean, in all honesty, the architectural drawings are permittable at this point right now.
Okay.
Rick's drawings are pretty much there. We just got to make sure the other engineers are in tow. But we're locking and loaded, let's
Okay.
put it that way.
All right.
Safe to say that they would hope to break ground no later than the spring.
If everyone had their druthers, it would be Thanksgiving.
I know, that's why I said,
You know
that's why I'm
that,
saying
yeah.
that. So the reason why we mentioned this, and you heard it with the last permit, I'm sure, is we have a start date, we have an end date. So we'll say 1 year to start, 3 years to complete. Obviously, I know in this case, you guys are much more anxious than those figures anyway. But as I said to the other applicant, if there's construction issues or funding delays or whatever, come back and we can modify those in the future.
I look at this as being an eminent condition.
Okay.
Great. So, that being said, the board have enough information to make a decision this evening.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
A motion's been made to close the hearing. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those
Aye.
opposed? Okay, discussion?
No, I think aside from what we just talked about, so I think Nick had mentioned the O&M plan in the preliminary review. O&M plan has to be created, recorded, and maintained in perpetuity. 1 year to start, 3 years to finish. And I think everything else is per plan and per department comments. I'll put that in the form of a motion.
A motion's been made
Seconded?
with a second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say opposed, and we'll take roll call. Alex?
Aye.
Alin?
Aye.
Amanda?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Tracy? Oh, sorry, Tracy's recused herself. Paula, aye. Doesn't matter. Fantastic.
You guys are good to go.
Thank you very much. Thank you
Good
for
luck to
your
you.
time.
So that's 6-0. While we're on it, because I thought about it during that one, the one thing I didn't mention for Old Princeton Road that is a permit condition is the O&M plan to be created, recorded, maintained in perpetuity. Did you hear that?
I heard you.
Perfect. Because that's an important one, especially for that one, because they have detention basins.
Okay.
So, well, this one does too, but,
Okay.
so both of them have the same permit condition. Bye, guys.
Yep, all the site plans all have lapse after 1 year, so they always have the 1 year to start, unless we extend the 1 year.
Yeah. I just say that just so it's clear. You don't even have to write it in there if you don't want.
No,
Most of the
I put that's a footnote in the year anyway.
And I was going to say, most of the time when I say that to them, it's more just to,
Yeah.
how quick do you want to get moving kind of question.
Moving right along, special permit and site plan review, IVJ Group LLC, proposed multifamily, 65 units in the Adaptive Industrial District located at 878991 River Street, formerly known as Ivor Johnson Mills.
And I will do my best to match what you have up there if I have them here. So let's see what we got.
And we understand, too, this is also has an application underneath the ZBA at the moment, concurrently.
So just to give the board some background, because we've talked about this kind of at length, and I had joined the ZBA for a site walk. The ZBA has to approve the building because it doesn't meet the rear setback.
Front yard.
Front yard setback, which is in the side of the, whatever. It doesn't meet one of the setbacks. So,
Also a change in use.
right, well, the setback is, the setback's the only thing they're
No.
voting on.
I can go through it all if
Okay, go ahead.
like to.
I just want to make sure everyone knows what we're waiting on still, and we're still waiting on ZBA.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Cleaves. I'm with Haley Ward, representing the Ivor Johnson Group. Also with me tonight is Christina McMahon from the Caveney Architectural Collaborative, the architects of the project. Also, we have some of the ownership group online and as well as in the audience if we have any questions for them. So as I mentioned, we're here for a site plan review and a special permit The project is for the renovation of 3 existing old mill buildings. If you're familiar with the area, it's bounded by Knockegg or Nursery Lane on one side and River Street on the other. This property was originally developed back in the 1870s from the Walter Hayward Chair Company, manufacturing company. And then in the 1890s, it was purchased and further developed from the Ivor Johnson Cycle and Arms Company. And so looking to renovate the 3 existing buildings, as you see there, shaded in brown. And we're also proposing a connection between the 2 buildings on the top of the page that's kind of like your lobby entrance area.
He's just describing that, so there's.
You want the site plan?
You might want to bring it up on the screen so that everybody.
I can bring up the site plan.
Everybody at home and virtual can see what he's describing.
I was focused on the rendering at the top. I'm trying to
I know.
trying to match what's
Look
on
at
his
that,
screen
too.
here. Is it one
A
of
separate file if you have it, but any of those plans.
You said a separate file?
Yeah, the colored one is a separate file.
All right, so we have tax compliance, cover letter, floor plans, building elevations, renderings, O&M plan. I don't have it, so I'll just pull that one up. I can do this, and I can turn it sideways. Let me just get to the right one here.
So if you want to go to the layout plan, which is probably sheet.
That's erosion control, utilities.
It's going to be C1.00.
Okay, so that's
Is
this
the
one.
next plan I'm going to
All
go
right,
to.
I got it right here. Let's see if I can rotate this. I got too many windows open. All right.
So there's a proposed addition connecting those 2 buildings to about 1,800 square feet. So the renovation is to provide 65 residential units, a mix of 1 and 2 bedroom. In that proposed addition area, again, that's kind of your entryway. You'll have your mail room, internal bike storage for the facility. To accommodate the units, we have parking, as you can see around the site. Required parking is 73 spaces for the amount of bedrooms that we have on units. We have 77 parking spaces being provided. As you see, we'll have various walkways around the site. I'll get to that in a second. On this rendering plan here, just to show you, the purple is the 200-foot riparian zone, and we're also in the floodplain. This whole property is in the floodplain. So because of that, we had to file with the Conservation Commission. We've been before the Conservation Commission, and they closed their hearings and are issuing an order of conditions. So we've closed out that process with the Conservation Commission. As Mr. Fontaine mentioned, we're also before the Zoning Board of Appeals for the alteration of an existing non-conforming structure. That's the structure that's closest to River Street here. It's only 10 feet away from the front yard setback, needs to be 25. But all of the alterations are conforming. Those existing buildings, except for the addition, is well conforming. We're not making any of the non-conformities any more non-conforming. So as was mentioned, we've had 1 hearing with them. We've had a site walk, and our next hearing is due for November 14th with the ZBA to hopefully close out that process.
So just to clarify, and it's neither here nor there, but their vote is just about that setback, that 1 setback line?
It's a special
We're there for a special
permit
Yep.
For the alteration of a non-conforming
in
structure.
operation.
Yep.
But I mean, we've talked extensively about other aspects of the project. As they've taken a pretty comprehensive look at it, which is great. So there may be other comments that come up through that, but that's the nature of the permit is for the alteration of a non-conforming structure.
The reason why I mention it that way is just the board needs to be aware that there might be permit conditions to that end up becoming permit conditions to this because we want them to match. So this is not. So that's the only reason why I say that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. So I can take you through the site quickly. So we're maintaining the existing accesses to the property now. There's one access off of Knockegg Street in the top left. Yep, thank you. And then in the bottom right, there's an access off of River Street. Those accesses are going to be maintained. Going to be improved a little bit, a little better turning radius, a little wider pavement, improved pavement. Both are 2-way accesses in and out. And then you navigate your way through the site. If you come in off of Knockegg Street, you could come in and take a right, which is the main parking area and the main entrance to the buildings. You have parking on either side of the maneuvering aisle. As you were to come in, you could then take a left to go between the two buildings on the low side of the page, parking on the right as you drive through. And then you have on the top of the page angular parking between our building there, and then there's a building just above that. That's the existing building of Kelly Wood Products. So there are overlapping easements that exist there, and we're also going to get easements from them as well. We've talked to Kelly Wood Products through the process. There's a stormwater component that we need their permission to put a pipe through their property. We'll get an easement from them, but they've been supportive of the project. We've met with them. They were online with the Conservation Commission and ZBA, so they've been in support of the project. So that section there between the Kelly Wood Products building and our building, as you can see, it is angular parking. It just don't have enough room to get perpendicular. So we have it meets code, but we only have enough room for one way in that section. And then as you come out to the other ends of the buildings, that's going to maintain the two-way that exists, as there are other properties that were part of the old Walter Chair and Ivor Johnson complex, but there are other property owners. So this is just a section that we control. There are overlapping easements for right-of-ways and such that would remain in place, so we're not going to prohibit any of that existing back and forth flow of those other businesses. Also, as part of the project, we're replacing pretty much all the utilities. There's an existing water main that runs through there, existing sewer main, and stormwater. Stormwater, there isn't too much. Putting in a brand new water main going through the property. There's an existing sewer line that feeds all the buildings, our project as well as the abutters, and the right-of-way on the right-hand side of the page. Going to replace that sewer line as well. In the stormwater, there is no real stormwater system. We're putting in a new stormwater system to accommodate the stormwater for the site. We've been before the Economic Task Force. We've had a meeting with the fire department. Can go through some of those comments if you'd like, touch upon some of the updates we foresee occurring. We haven't updated any of the plans as of yet. We wanted to hopefully facilitate as much comment throughout the process. We haven't been before this board yet, so update all the plans at one time. So hopefully the next time we come before you, we'll have all of those comments. Some of the comments that came up, I'll start with the fire department. One of their concerns was the narrow space between the Kelly Wood Products building and our building up at the top. So in speaking with them, our intent of this project was to try and minimize impervious surface. And we don't have a lot of space there to make it wider, but what we discussed with them, and they seemed amenable to, is adding what we call reinforced turf. So adding basically grass that is reinforced that could accommodate the loading of an emergency vehicle. They were hoping to get at least 16 feet, and we should be able to do that. And that'll be along the stretch that is shown as 12 feet wide, which we had narrowed it down, also to help kind of keep the traffic flow speeds down there too, and to add some landscaping along the Kelly Wood Products building.
Anthony?
So we're not going to add impervious surface, but we're going to add reinforced lawn to 16 feet wide total. Yeah.
So we're saying that 10 feet
So we have
white
12.
space that says proposed easement is going to be the turf?
Nope, so you have that 12 feet right where it's that 12 feet right there?
Yes.
That 12 feet, there'll be 4 feet of reinforced turf outside of that, so you'd have a 16-foot span that emergency vehicle could drive on.
That goes into the 10-foot easement that's there?
Does it go closer to your building 3, or does it go closer to Kelly Wood
Kelly
Products?
Wood Products.
It goes close to the Kelly Wood Products.
Yeah, so it's in this section
Yeah,
right
the
here.
white section of the 10 feet.
That additional 10-foot easement that we're asking from them. So there's already an easement
Another 4
there.
feet.
So another 4 feet of that.
Of that
will be-
10-foot easement.
That 10-foot easement will have.
Yeah, because we were looking to get a proposed easement from them, basically to do landscaping. And they were fine with adding landscaping there. So a portion of that 10 feet of which was just going to be a landscape bed, 4 feet of it will be reinforced lawn. So not adding any impervious surface, just takes a little more away from the landscaping area there. And then as you continue down along the angular parking, we only have 4 feet. We'll add 2 feet of reinforced turf on that side as well.
As you're on that lane, the angle parking, I don't see a dimension on the width, because it should be, I think, 12 feet.
It's 14, the maneuvering out, it's showing.
Not
through-
the aisle, the parking width themselves.
Yep, they are.
I can see the length, what's.
Yep,
I
and
don't
they're
see-
9 feet wide. That's the code.
That's where I'm taking a look at, because I was,
If,
thought it was different.
while Paul is looking that up, I just wanted to show if anyone wanted to see kind of some pictures when we met, whenever it was last weekend or 2 weeks ago. This is, so my facing River Street, my back is to Kellywood Products. This is the main parking lot, which runs along Knockegg Street and River. This must be building 2 here, though.
The width-
Building 3 must be
12.7.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It
Yeah.
should be 12.7, not 9. That's why there's no dimension on there. I just wanted to confirm that.
So it is 12.7. How that 12.7 gets calculated is it's 9 feet, but when you measure the opening, because of the geometry of it, it ends up being 12.7. But I'll double check that, and I'll label that on the plans next time around. So we'll have that on there.
I had talked to the developer when we did the site walk, and Anthony, I think you were close enough to hear it, or you were directly involved, I don't remember. But correct me if I'm wrong, he had agreed that the chain link fence is coming down along Knockegg and River, and the existing newer aluminum fence that we put when we did the River Street corridor project, that's going to continue down Knockegg Street to the entrance?
Yeah, so the intent is that, so along River Street, there is,
Section.
there's chain link fence on our side, and there is the black ornamental aluminum fence that the city had put in as part of the River Street improvements. So our intent is to take down that chain link fence and leave the city's black aluminum. There's no reason for that chain link fence to be there. And then we hadn't proposed any other fence improvements, except for, I know, Paul, you had mentioned that there's a corner of the fence that's somewhat fallen down.
Well, the chain, so the chain link's falling down here, but I
say-
believe, and Aldo's on, so he can verify this. I believe we had the conversation, and he said, oh, yeah, well, we can move that fence, continue that fence along this corner. I mean, even if you take it down,
I think
you know,
just put the aluminum fence along Knockegg Street.
Yeah.
And we'll also talk about the sidewalk reconstruction. But we want to see no chain link fence on Knockegg Street. We want
So
to see
you would
that.
like that chain link fence to
No,
go
not
to go
chain-
away?
Not the chain link fence.
Yes,
the-
chain link
the
fence
alu-
comes
You'd like the
entirely.
chain link
Right,
fence
and
to go
replace it
away
with
and
the-
continue that city standard that's on River, and
Right.
continue it around
Continue
down-
it right around the
down
corner, and as well as upgrade the sidewalk and the curbing, concrete sidewalk along Knockegg Street down to the entrance.
Okay, and so replace the sidewalk, and then remove and reset the granite curbing from basically River Street down to our entrance.
Yes.
which I know Aldo agreed to when we had talked. He has his hand raised, so I know you probably, Aldo, you can speak to this.
We'll
'cause-
also talk about some enhancement along,
sorry.
because it's over, the street signage there is totally overgrown by the other side of your entrance is overgrown and needs to be chopped back. It's
Which
gateway
entrance?
Your main entrance off of Knockegg Street,
The Knockegg entrance side? The driveway entrance?
the driveway entrance. Yeah.
On the left-hand side as you're coming in, or the right-hand side?
On the left-hand side if you're coming in.
Me, Aldo's,
That's not our property, but we can look at.
It's going to
we
be
can
part of
look
your
at doing
driveway
that.
entrance. Right, and anything on the, but it's also the public way, so we're going to ask for that off-site improvement to.
No, I understand that.
the
I'm just,
public thing.
stuff that's not on our property, we can't.
True, but since it's a special permit too, we're looking at off-site improvements, but that's also in your
No,
interest too.
I understand that, but just stuff that's on Kelly Wood Products property, for example.
Yeah, I don't
We're
think that
happy
that
to
is
work
on,
with them.
it's not on Kellywood Product, shouldn't
Oh,
be.
okay.
It, right there, it's all in the public way, because it's just not there. I believe, at least your plan shows a stone wall or a wall on Kellywood Products, and that's where the property line is that you can't even see.
There is some growth on the other side of that
Yeah.
stone wall, so I just want to make sure
Yes.
what we're looking at.
So obviously,
But also, you can speak with Kellywood Products too about, take care of that overgrowth that's right there at that corner. That should be landscaped around that corner as well, so if you look.
On their property? That
Well, we
corner
don't
on the
want to
left?
see, yes. I think you can have a conversation regarding any scraggling overgrowth that needs to be cut back, and an enhancement there. It's also in your interest too, and you guys are also negotiating easements and such, so. And we'll also be discussing signage there so that it, some type of controls, traffic controls, so that tenants for the residences don't take a left inadvertently on Kelly Wood Products driveway. So we're going to look at something there, have some discussion.
So I think it's pretty. It's easier than it sounds. So you cut down some of this brush and just add a berm and mulch, and
Right.
Make it look nice.
Yeah.
I don't think it has to be anything crazy, anything excessive. And certainly, if it is on the Kelly Wood Products property and they end up having a problem with it, and I think I saw John on here anyway, so he can probably speak to this. If they do have a problem with it, we can't make you do something on someone else's property, but if they allow it, I think that would be great. I know, Anthony, you and I had talked about right here, right on this corner, there needs to be, especially once all this is gone, so that you see their trucks coming out of here, that you don't have an accident, a sign here that kind of directs traffic away from Kelly Wood Products, meaning if someone from the project turns into this lot, they shouldn't be going left. They should be going straight through that one way or right to the main parking area. So, and again, I'm well aware that you would need Kelly Wood Products permission for this, but I would assume that they're on board with that. A sign here that says,
directional sign.
Directional signs, Kelly Wood left.
No public access, or just discourage people from going behind
Kelly
Kelly
Wood Products.
Exactly.
Ivor Johnson residential.
Exactly.
Right.
Like I said, it's an easy solution. I think if you just sit down with them and just say, is it okay? Does it look good here? Just pop it on the plan.
Sure. Yeah.
And like I said, I agree with Paul. This tree, and quite honestly, I don't remember it looking that full when we were there a few weeks ago. Maybe part of it's gone. I don't know. But if it is still there in its entirety, I mean, I worry about a Kelly Wood Products truck coming around this corner and then there being an accident because someone can't see them with that tree there. So if no one needs it, then it probably should just come down. And like I said, just a small mulched area, just so you have a sight line there. That's really all it is.
Okay, all right. So we're not looking to put a tree back. It's
No.
Okay, all right, so
I think if you mulch it, make it look nice, or
it's a great
grass,
point,
or grass and mow it.
visibility is
I don't really care
it's a
what
great
it
point.
ends up being. More for sight line than anything else.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's a good point.
And I know, and Aldo's unmuted, so you're welcome to speak whenever you want, Aldo, but I know he agreed when him and I talked about doing the sidewalk from the property line to River Street, because we expressly had that conversation.
Yeah, Paul,
Yes.
that photo you have up right there, we definitely walked along there, and you can be sure we're going to make that look fantastic. And extending the...
Can you just speak up, Aldo?
Yeah, I was saying you and I walked along that site, and along that walkway there, the sidewalk that is basically coming apart. And you and I talked about us fixing it up as a condition of the of approval, and absolutely that'd be something we would do. The other comment I would have is the foliage that you see there, or the overgrowth. A lot of that has already been removed. And of course, that'll be part of the project.
Perfect. Yeah, and like I said, I have some photos here from the back of the buildings. These might tell some of the story. I don't know how many I took, but yeah, okay. So that tree, like I said, maybe just cutting some area, clearing it a little bit, and just putting that sign there with a kind of delineation of telling people where to go. I think that's all that matters. This is looking at Nursery Lane, Knockage Street being the...
Not like we don't like trees. It's just where they're positioned, just make
Oh,
sure
it's a
they're
great
good sight
comment, yeah.
distance, or they're too low and have to be definitely
Yeah,
trimmed way
I'm
up
really
so that you can see
Makes
under
sense.
them.
That's a good comment.
And this was... Oh, go ahead, Aldo.
No, I'm not sure that tree's still there or not, but if it is, we'll take care of whatever you need. And with the Kelly's permission, of course, we'll put a sign there.
Well, if it's not there, it went away in the last week and a half, because that was our site walk. This is my photo, so...
Losing leaves. Oh, that's your photos.
Yeah, so, and if anyone wanted to see that, Aldo was nice enough to let us walk through a couple of the buildings. This is Building 3, which was particularly fascinating because the drainage system runs basically under this building, and it basically water, I assume, just pours into the Nashua from there. It's something. This was the worst of the buildings, I think, correct? Right? Worst of the three?
Yeah.
And
That's the drainage system we're closing down, by the way.
What's that?
That's the drainage system from the 1870s, and we're not using that one. We're creating our.
Yeah. And then these are some of the. This was building one. The one close to the street is building one, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Or 91.
91.
91.
So this one obviously it was much more walkable.
Could you go
Anyway.
back to the site plan?
Yeah.
On the parking, just aspects of that. So I have some reservations regarding the 3 parking spaces between buildings 2 and 3 off of the, I don't know which way we want to call that.
Right here.
On the
Yes,
right-hand
right
side.
there.
Yep.
Because of site distance, everything just backing up, because that's industrial traffic pretty much right there. Whether or not that should potentially be just loading area, or something along that, versus it being an actual residential parking, even handicap. I think I had concern just directly backing out into the way.
So maybe and I would leave the handicap space there only because the ADA ramp is right there.
Okay.
But if you leave the handicap space there and you make that either, loading, unloading, guest parking, whatever you want, I agree. The good news is that I guess the buildings do kind of get in the way of visibility there when you're backing out.
Right, so it's like completely like there, you have nothing till you backed out, so you can't see. That's why you can.
I mean, obviously, as far as the parking counts, I'd hate to get rid of any spaces. So if you make them, like I said, loading, unloading, moving traffic, people that are dropping stuff off.
If we see it better on site, but I'm just saying on the plan as I see it, there's a potential issue there. Also, easement-wise, I know on the historic easements too, so what's being potentially, the paved area there is not exactly on the existing easement. You've got, so you're pretty much, looks like you're adjusting the easements towards the Average Johnson buildings in that regard. So whether or not you're going to reset the easements for the industrial tenants. So because it's like the easements typically, at least on the old plans, go, cover the railroad tracks. On that side, you're not going over that far.
Right,
But
it
also,
actually goes through a part of
Johnson-
their building.
Yeah, we saw.
Exactly, it goes part of the building.
Yeah, this
And-
corner of this building is actually within the
Yes.
easement.
So I know that too. I mean, I've seen that. But also, right, you've got more space on the Ivor Johnson side that looks like you're going to be moving that kind of like, allowing more of an easement in that direction for the back and forth traffic. So that you would consider about adjusting that easement piece, as well as I understand there's an easement in between buildings 2 and 3 that should just be eliminated.
The
Whether
easement
or not-
between, 2 and 3 is basically just for Ivor Johnson. I don't believe that was for everybody, but
Well, yeah, we couldn't tell it from it's pretty much so if you're looking at the easement, just people have, since you're working in collaboration here, whether or not to reset, it's in everybody's best interest.
update the easement
Update the
documents
easement,
so that
yeah. To eliminate the dead easement between the buildings, to be clear, no one else has access rights to that, and then your path to pass and repass has been adjusted.
This is the one you were talking about.
Yes. And so people can understand, you can see that there's like a right-of-way in between buildings 2 and 3, kind of connecting over, and,
Oh, it's a mess.
yeah, it's a mess. And that's, you're right,
And
so
that-
that
and
the
that easement-
20-foot easement is way over more towards the right-hand
like
side.
that
and
right
kind of
away is for the
adjusted
benefit of
right-of-way.
lots B and C, which is our property. And
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're allowing more on your property for right-of-way?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're moving that perceived right-of-way closer to us.
Yes.
And we're making it wider,
Yep.
essentially, 'cause it's only 20 feet wide now. Where people drive today is not in the right-of-way. Like you said, you saw, we'd be driving through the
Right.
abutters building.
Yep. So that would be good to just
to clean that
To
up.
clean that up.
I can update the easement
The easement.
documents.
Yep.
Or
Regards to that.
just show them on your plan and record the plan as an easement plan, something like that.
Well,
Well,
yeah, I
after
mean,
the-
the recording standards are different than that. It would be like that, but newer, like what you see on your screen, but
Right.
newer. a survey plan just showing the right-of-ways. Yeah, that's a good comment.
Okay. What else do I have? Anything else I looked at was the architectural rendering about the window designs. So I understand, so particularly about the arches and the color of the windows, there's been some renderings, other renderings have shown them as like being white. I was going to say probably not white aluminum. I'm not sure what you're looking at for the color, but that would have to be, probably like black, dark green. I'm not sure what you're looking to kind of
So, I
match
mean,
there.
we're going for historic tax credits, so it's going through the Park Service, and so they pretty much, and Christina can jump in anytime, they kind of dictate what we can and can't do for the facade and whatnot. Is that?
Exactly.
Well, I understand, but I think,
I think that looks great, the one up on the screen. What is that, red and white? I think it looks fantastic.
but I'll leave that to also Pete. Well, we don't want them to look like white vinyl windows, all right? In regards to that, if you've seen the mill restorations, they've all been dark. Okay, in regards to that keeping, so.
So the red is original and found on site, so that's what we're referencing there. The white, so this is conceptual, and we're still working through finished
Yes,
sections.
so
not.
I'll just bring that up when I see that, as well as I want to know exactly what materials you're using to fill in that aspect of the arch, because if you see, like on below your rendering, you've had it bricked in on the first floor, and then you've got this, piece, and we don't want it to be like, well, here's a nice little piece of plywood just painted.
Yep, exactly. I see what you're talking
It's
about.
to have those, yes, it's like, what material is that? It's the same aluminum as the windows and the same color, like, we want to.
So that would be like something you would have a conditional approval to come back
The architectural
with that
thing,
information once it's
You'll know,
determined.
because you can go to them first and say, this is what they approved. And at that point, we probably won't have any say anyway. Quite honestly, I disagree. I think the white looks better than black in this case. I prefer black frame windows, but for some reason, because I think it's because there's so much red in this building and it's so dark, I like the light of the windows. So I personally don't have a problem with it, but I get what Paul is saying. You don't want them to look like double hung windows.
Yeah, we don't want them
Essentially,
to
we'd
look like.
work with the Park Service to come up with a window design,
Yes.
and then come back to the planning board and
Yep.
show you what we've
We
come
want
up with.
to still looking historic and nice, and we don't want to look, we've had other, on our, historic looking areas that just put in some, off-the-shelf windows and stuff that just kind of don't make it.
You might want to look
Right.
at the windows that they're using on the BF Brown complex. They're kind of a cream color, and they are quite exceptional looking, and they go so well with brick. So just, it's just something to maybe
Yep.
check out.
As long as it works there. Also, whether or not you're going to have a pet policy, because you should definitely have a pet relief area designed in if you're going to allow pets.
Yeah, otherwise where are they going to go? Or
Yeah,
just,
exactly.
well, I'd say don't allow them, but you have to allow some of them, so, like the medical issues with pets. But
There was others, we had one potential design where it actually had a room.
they did.
For that, as well as for grooming, which I guess they do in some very high metropolitan areas. They actually have it internal to the building.
Especially there where there's really nowhere immediately off-site where, they can't really, I suppose they could walk to Gateway Park and clean up after themselves, but that's problematic for the city to keep maintaining all the pickup and everything, so.
And then also, things off the top of my head, the landscape on River Street to enhance the landscaping behind the aluminum fence that's there between the building and the fence for some, some plantings.
Along
River Street
the
side.
building itself.
Yeah, well, I know you can't go maybe against the building, but between the building and the fence by area.
The rock landscaping you're planning on doing in front of River Street, that's what she's talking about.
Right, yeah, so that 10-foot strip between the building and the sidewalk, a couple of feet of that's going to be the drip edge for the roof.
Yeah, so in front of that.
In front of that, low plantings.
Yep, some flowering shrubs or whatever you.
What was the?
You have
There was a fire comment.
Yeah, the fire department.
I know no mulch, but I thought they said no plantings. Oh, they said no.
They
trees.
don't want trees.
No trees.
They don't want anything because it's their concern is rescue access to the windows for their ladder. If they have trees, it just makes it harder for them. So they were They'd rather not have large growth trees there, but we can look at doing some low plantings.
And then also,
Hydrangeas, junipers, things
we
like
look at, we've been at some other facilities too, where particularly facing on the public viewing area, and you have the large windows that you maintain professional, like window treatments or something on the visible side of the building interior.
On the inside of the building?
What we've heard in other projects is developers, particularly one of the newer projects, the developers said tenants can't do their own window treatments because it looks terrible because they all look different. I think that's what you're going for, right?
Well,
That
yes.
you don't want it to look like people hanging sheets in the window, basically. So
Right.
if you want something, my suggestion is that you guys kind
Look
of
at-
build that into however you're going to furnish them and say, these are what you can buy if you're going to have them buy them, or this is what we're going to put in, just so they all look the same.
standardized.
The ones on River Street particularly, because that's what you're going to
Yeah.
see. So,
Just on one side.
Is that something more of a suggestion, or is that something you're looking to try and tie to a permit decision on
We have tied to,
on
we have
dictating
tied-
window treatments?
We have tied to permit decisions on the, particularly if they're in the large size of the windows. If they're outsized, people can't afford to put them up, and then you've got a whole like mishmash of stuff going on, and it
Yeah.
doesn't look professional.
you guys think about it between now and then, how you
Or
want
you think you might want to
how
address
you
that,
want to, yeah, exactly. I mean, if you guys can come up with a solution without,
particularly ones,
us
I
and
think some
all
have
of that.
bedrooms and some don't, so. Darkening. I think those are some of my major things. I did see some of your amenities, so you incorporated like the mailboxes and like package drop-off areas internally. It looks like you have a small like gym area.
Yep, yeah, and that's that, and that building addition section is, mail, gym, bike storage in that area. I don't know if I mentioned the dumpster location, I'm sure you already saw where that was.
Yes, and that's below.
So that's some of the nice thing is that whole parking area sits lower than Knockegg Street and River Street, so we're already suppressed from the surrounding streets. So it kind of gives us a little bit of separation from that. The dumpster is at the end.
They're right here.
At the end of that vehicular access row, and we're encompassing that with a 6-foot-high vinyl fence around that to screen the dumpster area.
Great. And you have a distance, it's like where your snow, looks like your snow storage is between the parking lot and the wall?
That's probably about 15 feet wide. So it's not a lot of spots to put snow storage, unfortunately. So the reality is if that area ends up getting full, they're going to have to truck it off-site.
So maybe that's a potential area for some additional, like either, landscaping for pets or something like that. I don't know where you think you had a.
Yeah, I know we have trees going in along there. But yeah, that could be it's the grade works out well. It's fairly flat in that area, so that could be an area for people to walk their pets.
And then something, not really visibly seeing it here, but what you're going to do for your courtyard enhancements.
Yeah, we had some, if you want to go to the last page in that, Paul.
Yep. This one, right?
Yep.
Oh, great.
I don't want to hide this, but this lower rendering here is kind of a visual idea of what that courtyard might look like. But
that right there.
Trees, plantings, and then throughout that area with a walkway down the center there.
Do you have any patio area or anything?
That's at the very end. So that concrete, that walkway will open up in that area there. That hatched area is a part of the building that's going to come down. So that'll be an open area there.
Okay.
Yep. And one of the things I'll just point out while we're talking about that area, through the task force meeting, one of the comments that came up that recommended to consider is putting in a fence or gate at the end of that courtyard space to provide a little more security to the residents there and not allowing outside public to come in there. So the team's considering that, and I think is leaning towards that, having a gate there at the end, somewhere at the beginning of that sidewalk. Was there be any issues from the planning board side if we added a fence there to provide more security?
No.
No, okay.
No, whatever you decide. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you're going to want
Probably
it
should be
not to be
aesthetic
chain
looking,
link,
right?
but-
No, 'cause I think it would be more
Yeah.
that.
It's so visible for you guys that you have, I'm sure you have a much bigger desire for it to be aesthetic than we do for that case, because you don't even
Not
see
sure
it,
what
but-
style barbed wire yet.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
But yeah, that was one of the things that was brought up. It was a good comment, so it's serious consideration on doing that. Just wanted to make sure that if we add that to the plans around, that you didn't have any concerns with that.
I think generally the board will defer to FPD, fire, and DPW if they have any strong comments, so that's
Yeah,
fine.
and the one thing on that, just to one of the comments from the fire department is, because we talked about that gate when we met with them, and Lieutenant Jordan basically said, if you don't have a fenced-in area there, could we try and make that more vehicular friendly, like adding that reinforced turf? But if a fence goes in there, you really can't get a vehicle in there, so they have to just go in with ladders. That was, I don't know if you have that, and if you're looking at that, Paul, that was the last email that Lieutenant Jordan had sent.
Yeah, I just have the general comment. I don't have
Yep.
that. It just says
Yep.
we discussed a couple areas of concern for access to the rear and access to the courtyard area. They took notes, and we're going to reevaluate. So
Yep.
whatever you decide.
Yep.
I mean, obviously, you guys did your due diligence. You talked to them, and whatever you finalize and show on the plan, so that we can get this thing moving along.
I'd like to see a courtyard and some other amenity other than just pavement surrounding every building, yes.
Yeah, no, it's a nice space to have, absolutely. Works out well.
The amenities are nice, good and well thought out. It's a long time in coming. We're very, I think, probably speak for many, excited to see this transformation.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's itching to get this moving forward. As I mentioned at the beginning, for that particular reason, that I generally think the planning board is ready to move forward. However, we have to wait for the ZBA to do what they need to do.
If I can, just a couple more things,
Yeah.
if I don't mind, just to make sure I follow up. I know we talked about on the site walk, there's a fire escape on there. So it's about having a condition in there to basically make sure that the exterior of that fire escape is redone.
Yep.
So it's, which we discussed that on site, no issue. Just want to make sure we talk about that, and that becomes a condition of approval.
Yeah, I didn't bring it up just because that was going to be a final, a final thing when we get to the final meeting. It was so small in the grand scheme
Makes
of
sense,
things.
but I
that
just want to mention it.
Yeah, so there's and it's funny because I took those pictures and I didn't take a picture of that. If you drive in on the right-hand side, the River Street side, I think it's
See
the
metal
third building.
staircase?
What's that?
It's there on the right, metal staircase.
Might be. I don't have that. Hold on.
There it is.
I am looking at something different than you. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's right here. There's an existing fire escape that apparently is historical in nature, so it's remaining. It's rusty and old, and so I just said to them, however you have to do to make it not look terrible.
We'll make sure we finish that.
Yeah. That I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, the other point too, I think, Paul, you may have asked a question about ADA units.
Mm-hmm.
And confirming with Christina, there are ADA units proposed in the project.
Do you know how many?
A total of 4. Sorry.
That's okay. Excellent. No, as I mentioned, that from what I've been told, they're sorely needed in the market, and I think that it's great that you guys are adding some.
And you have some walkways, correct me if I'm wrong, on the ends of the buildings on the easterly side, each end?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, so essentially on
Against
the
right of way,
easterly
like,
side.
we
we
got
have-
tractor trailer, going by over there.
Yep, so we have, at the ends of each of those 3 buildings, we're putting in a sidewalk.
Okay.
Connecting it all the way to the sidewalk on River Street. And
So
then
they
also
shouldn't
there's
have they shouldn't have to cross that right of way. They come right down the sidewalk, right down to River Street.
Yep, so you don't have to cross
away
that.
from any traffic on that road.
Yep, so you can stay on that, and then we have a sidewalk going all the way up to Knockegg Street as well. So you have a pedestrian access to both streets.
Okay.
We do,
We're marrying industrial with residential here, so,
Yeah, no, it's,
look.
we do have some public comment when you're ready.
I guess we're ready. Please, if anybody on virtual, just please state your name for the record.
I have John Kelly ready to speak. It's all yours, Johnny, whenever you want.
Yes, thank you very much. Great project, great meeting. Just a couple of points. As an owner of Kellywood Products, I can tell you that, yes, removing that vegetation, particularly that tree on the corner there in North Keg Street, is a good idea. Right now, we have it there merely so it blocks the view of our lumber, our dumpsters, our equipment.
See that?
And yes, for this circumstance, it would be great to get that down. And of course, you may be interested in the fact that at the end of North Keg Street, there's a nice pedestrian bridge to go over the river. Currently, it's not being used, except it is a nice little place for the homeless people. So you do have that population down there. Along North Keg Street, earlier you were talking about fencing. Now that's quite a drop between the North Keg Street sidewalk and the property. Is there still going to be some kind of barrier to prevent people from falling that 6, 7, 8 feet down?
Yes, it's going to be replaced with the same metal fencing you see on River Street. So it'll still be a fence,
right.
just an upgraded fence.
Okay, good.
More ornamental to match.
There's not a code issue with that, right? 4-foot fence versus a 6?
no, I think that fence will be fine. We'll check that.
I was going to say, that's just something to think about.
Yeah, I think it needs to be 42 inches high, and you have to be.
All right. Also, Paula made a good point about 4 parking places that might, cause a problem when people back out of it. So I think it was mentioning between buildings 2 and 3. For her concerns, one thing is there's very little industrial traffic coming around that deep, besides a few maybe UPS trucks and the mail truck. There isn't a lot of industrial traffic. There is a lot of industrial traffic at that intersection at River Street where Baumeco is. And Baumeco spoke to the zoning board earlier, and I think to the people that are trying to make the development, but there are large industrial trucks that go in and out of there every day. In terms of those perhaps 4 spots, I don't know if it would be practical to ask people or tell people, put signage to back in only. Or one thing I do at Kellywood Products is I do not back all the way in so that my vehicle is concealed by traffic coming by. I leave my vehicle protruding out 2 or 3 feet so they understand there's a vehicle there. The only other thing that I'm curious about, I see they wisely planned on some snow management places on the left side of your screen, but I'm not quite sure the practicality of taking snow that is falling on the right side of your screen, which is, I think, is north side. They're going to have to push that snow roughly 300 feet. That's a football field when they push it from right to left on your screen. That might work for 2 or 3 inches, but it's going to be a trick for 6, 9, or 12 inches. Maybe there are other resources or methods of doing it or heavier equipment, but in my experience, it's pushing snow 300 feet, especially if it's wet in February, could be a challenge. But those are the only few things I had in mind, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony, I think the answer to that question is they'll have to bring heavy equipment in if it's too hard.
Well, I think there's many ways to manage snow. I mean, you see malls, you're pushing more than 300 feet. You don't wait till the end of the storm to do it. You have to be out there early, and you may have to do it a few times. Like any long driveway. I plow my in-laws' driveway, it's 800 feet long. I don't do it at the end of the storm. I'm doing it 4 times.
The short answer is that they'll certainly have to do it, and that right-of-way will have to be maintained open. Everyone's going to need it to be maintained open. So if they have trouble plowing it, then they'll have to get heavy equipment in to truck it off-site. And that's, certainly we run into those issues pretty routinely with, like the Yarmworks site and the old Sanatoy site and the Premier Box site, where some areas it's hard to find snow storage, and if that's the case, the permit condition will be if they can't store it on site, it'll have to be removed from the site.
Yeah.
But thank you, John.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else, either here or
else?
virtually, have anything?
Because this item will be continued, because we'll have to also wait back for ZBA comments as well, so.
Well, right, absolutely, but I mean, I think this has been fantastic
Get
so far.
feedback here at this point, so we can kind of.
Everything we can get now, the better, so we can add it all to the plans. I always like to try and get as much on the plans as possible, so you're not relying on conditions.
Makes it much easier for everyone.
This has been great input. Love to add all that we can.
Yeah, so the notes I had from our site walk, we already talked about almost all of them. All of them. A sign and clear vegetation at the Kellywood Products entrance to discourage traffic through the Kellywood Products site. If parking in the future ends up being reserved parking for occupants, the guest or visitor parking has to be delineated somewhere. But we had already talked about the intent now is for it to be open, but I think a permit condition will be if in the future you say these are going to be parking spaces for these units, there has to be visitor parking spaces somewhere, so they'll have to be shown in the future. If snow storage isn't enough, it has to be removed off-site. New granite curb and concrete paving along Knockout Street. Exposed metal surfaces that remain like the exterior escape on buildings 3 be restored or otherwise removed. I mean, if you guys want to remove them too, if they're not historical and they say they don't care, then go for it. It doesn't really matter. That's all I had. So,
Yeah, those, what you mentioned, visitor spaces, but also like the drop-off spaces, so you're just going to be able to maintain that for people for, if there's elevators and stuff there too, it's like when they're bringing their stuff in and out, they're going to have to park close to the entrance where that is to be able to do that.
If we designate loading spaces, you mean?
Right.
The only problem with this site too is it's 3 buildings, so you're going to have 3 distinct
right?
entrances. So it's not like you have one main entrance like we did at Premier Box where you say these are the commercial spaces, these are the. Of course, you don't have commercial here, but with Premier Box it was these are commercial, these are loading, unloading.
Can you show like where is the area where people can load, like between the so there's 2 floors, there'll be an elevator. Is there going to be an elevator in any of it? No.
No.
Oh, okay. So yeah, the extra wide hallways for those sofas and refrigerators and where people can bring up and down things is going to be, paramount. So they're not trying to maneuver through somebody's car next to somebody's parked car next to the entranceway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Too. Like they need to be able to back in or they're going to block the whole parking lot for 4 hours.
I think that's why the way I worded it, at least when I was thinking about it, was if they get to a point where they're delineating parking spaces for residents, then you have to show all the other stuff. If it's open, I mean, you kind of figure that out as you get going. People are blocking an aisle because they're moving. Okay, we need to move a parking space and say this is just for loading and unloading or whatever. Unless you can think of where to show them. But like I said, I think it might be complicated given the multiple entrances and where the parking shows up. But something to think about.
Yep. No, thank you.
Anything else board members want to bring up about EV charging? Right,
yeah, I do have one comment. I'm certainly very, very pleased at this project. The city, I'm sure, is even more pleased than I am that this project is moving forward. I have a couple of, as a matter of fact, Walter Haywood and Ivor Johnson, I'm sure, will be very pleased that their legacy is being preserved. I do have one comment that I know was not even remotely on your plate, and it was mentioned by one of the people that just talked. There is a gorgeous footbridge that goes over the Nashua River.
I wouldn't say
I just
gorgeous.
sent a picture of that to Paul. Paul, you should have that on your email right now.
Yeah.
And right now, there are 4 major players in that area. Ivor Johnson, the Ironworks, Kelly Wood Products, and then that other complex on Knockhead Drive. With the Ivor Johnson complex being completed, there's going to be renewed interest in that big piece of land across the street. And that's, I can see a grocery market or something like that going in there. And that footbridge would be so nice to be able to walk over that river. I'm sure people in the Ivor Johnson complex are going to have friends and acquaintances in the Ironworks.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think,
You
yeah,
want a
it's-
walkable city.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, has that even remotely been discussed?
No, I don't think it's feasible.
It would be
brought
nice.
up-
It would be
was
nice
brought
if-
up during the Yarnworks project,
Yeah.
and they looked at it
There it
feasibility-wise.
is right
And it just wasn't feasible to do that. And really, the
Well,
biggest,
it's not feasible, I don't think, for one person to tackle it.
True, but it
might
also
be
benefits one
if
person.
If 4 entities could get together and say, let's preserve that, let's really make it a feature of the area, then it's possible.
Right.
But someone's got to start the conversation, and I'm wondering if you're willing to start the conversation with the surrounding businesses.
I don't think that's going to be part of this project. It doesn't really benefit this project. It's going to.
No, but it benefits the city and the surrounding areas.
It's not the city's property. I don't believe. So they're going to have right-of-way issues. You're going to facilitate pedestrian traffic to the private property of Yarnworks. So there's that logistical hurdle as well. I'm sure as surrounding stakeholders, if there was something from the city side, maybe getting some funding to try and do that. I think as a neighboring stakeholder, I'm sure this group would participate in discussions, but it's not going to be part of this project.
I don't see it as part of this project. I just see it as a possibility down the road, rather than have the thing fall into the river.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember. I know I have.
At this point, I think the condition was if they couldn't make it feasible, the Yarnworks, they were to board it off to avoid people from traveling across that, so.
And they did. And they put up plywood, and there's locks and whatnot. There was anyways. I don't know if it's still there, but.
Yeah. So that could be revisited just to make sure people are not crossing it.
Yeah, especially
Unsafe
if Kelly Parks
area.
is noticing some issues with vagrancy, we should at least maybe put it on.
I think underneath.
I know it's kind of like covered in the vegetation now, so I just have a concern about removing the vegetation around it to just make it of attraction to try to go across it, but
Yep.
I don't know.
But I don't know how far the right-of-way goes of Knockhead Street. At some point, I believe the right-of-way ends. I don't know who actually has ownership of that pedestrian bridge. I think
But I
I think
don't disagree
Yarnworks
if there's
had
something.
rights to it, because I remember, was it Mr. Hurley that was on the planning board back when we did that?
I have the email. I'm trying to find it right now.
I think he remembers using that bridge.
I remember the conversation, but
It's in
the problem
permit.
is I don't know what it's
It was
under.
a permit condition in Yarnworks.
Right.
So I think it was used as part of Yarnworks when that was in operation for the workers to come across. So I believe they have more rights to that than anyone. But again, I don't think the ownership group would be opposed to be part of a discussion, but I don't see it as them being the
I was
catalyst for that.
Still trying to figure out how we can get like a river walk, like continue a walk along the river. Oh, okay. Any further questions? Yes, sir. Could you just come to
Talk
the
to the microphone
podium?
so they can hear you.
Thank you. Because our other members are virtual. Fantastic.
My name's Greg Moran. I was a 61-year resident of Fitchburg. I defected 7 years ago, I'm sorry, to Westminster. I wanted to thank Mr. Kelly for his comments, and I hear what he's saying about snow plowing and being ready. I've been in real estate commercial development for 45 years, so I've got some background in that. And I did appreciate his comments, and I wanted just to repeat them, that the traffic flow that I've been able to observe, which is really limited, though it's been quite a few, and Mr. Kelly, many, many years, you know, those 3 parking spaces and his idea of notching those parking spaces out, 2 feet or 3 feet on the footprint makes perfect sense to me, based on the amount of traffic and a design, a tweak. But that's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much for all your efforts tonight.
Thank you for your comments. And Anthony, too, that was the area too where you're thinking about putting the fence on the end of that courtyard there too.
Yes.
Right. It'd be up against that, what's shown now as parking.
Right, so you're leaning towards eliminating that parking altogether? Is that what we're hearing?
You could take a look at that with some of the other board members too, but I get concerns about backing out into it, but also if you put the fence there too, there should be a gate or something to open up.
Right, there'd still be pedestrian access, through there, but it would be secure.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it'd be a fence across, where that sidewalk is. It would be a fence between buildings, and then there'd be a pedestrian gate there on the walkway with security access, like a key or key card.
There's sidewalk, how wide is the sidewalk?
5 feet.
And
then through the buildings, it's going to be at least 6 between the buildings.
But on the end to the 20-foot, the easement on that side where those 3 spaces are, so each end of the building has a sidewalk attached to the end of 5 feet, you say?
Yeah, with the curbing, it's 5 feet.
Okay, so we've got that on top of the parking space. So the parking
Right, to
space
provide
is
that
recessed,
separation
and then
between-
And then you still have a 5-foot sidewalk, so you still have, I'm just trying to envision, you have some bit of a distance to see.
And I do want to say, before you redesign the plan and take it out,
Yeah.
because of Paula's comment, I don't want to see any parking lost. I don't mind if you rebrand that parking as loading, unloading, or visitor parking, or, or maybe only long-term parking.
It must be worse.
That visitors might be the worst ones parking there because they don't know the neighborhood. But I don't know. I would say, think about it. I don't know why that didn't really cross my mind when we were there, especially, if you're against particularly the one on the south side, the River Street side, because you're literally against the building. So if a car's coming down, you don't see them until you get 3/4 of the way into that aisle, if you're backing out of that space. Because you're right up against the building with that other one. But again, I wouldn't be for getting rid of any parking. I think parking's such a need. But
Would you be able to angle them? I don't know. Whether you have the ones on the back.
So if you were to angle them, a couple things will happen with that. One, you'll lose at least one of the spaces, but the other thing too is you'll have to angle them really in the direction of travel.
Yeah.
So that becomes the other detriment to
Backing out
that.
into
So it'd be good in one way, but not good in the
Right,
other.
right.
But it was a great point that Paula made about the sidewalk too, because that does provide. You're not driving right up against the building, so you're backing out. You have 4 feet or so of the sidewalk that starts before you protrude into that traveled way. So that was a good point too.
That's some distance from the buildings on the sides. You've got.
So that's a good point that there is that as well.
And the one that's, like I said, the one that's the most problematic on the River Street side, the one closer to the bottom of that site plan, you're backing out. The one you can't see is the far end of that travel aisle anyway. So, because you should be able to see towards Kelly Wood Products a little bit better because you have those 3 parking spaces to look over. But I think it's doable. It's just I would just take a good look at it and just make sure that you guys are confident that it won't cause any issues with that right of way.
May I say something on that? Things that I've seen with site issues, one of those curved or round, like half-circle mirrors. Have you seen that, where you can't see around a corner and they put it on the end?
Could be helpful.
Yeah, I know this. I know our DPW won't allow them for public ways, but it's a private property, so go for it if you can. If you think that'll help. So yeah, it's definitely this. I think there's ways to like you said, there's ways to think about it. I think it's doable. I don't think it's
Take a look at it.
dangerous. Just, yeah, think about it. If you're comfortable with that, then we can, just talk about if we have any other issues. But me personally, I don't want to see you, I think we're at, even though we're over the minimum, the more parking space you have, the more viable the project is.
I agree.
Because there's no off-street parking there, especially with, if the Highland Rice site across the street gets developed, because people right now, if they theoretically wanted to, they could park there and just cross the street, because that's been vacant for so long. But if that gets developed, you lose that ability. Then what do you do? I mean, so keep whatever you can.
All right, any further?
Has there been any talk or discussion about the lobby area, including any memorabilia or information in there to tell the residents about a little bit about the history of the complex? And what are those thoughts that you might have?
Yes, that has come up, putting a sort of like dedication in the lobby area, displaying photographs, giving a little bit of history about the complex. So there's no specific plans yet, but everyone on the ownership team is interested in that. So it is.
That'd be a great feature to have, yeah.
Yep, we all agree.
All right.
I
Any
have
further?
one more thing,
Go
just
ahead.
to make sure I don't, we are asking for a waiver. I don't know if you saw that in your packets. The one waiver that we're asking for is a section regarding landscaping for parking areas. It's a waiver for the buildings 1 and 2, or 91 and 89, however you want to call them, those two. As you can see, the space between the two buildings is very limited. We just have enough room to fit parking, so we don't have enough room for landscaping in that section. So due to that limited space, not really being feasible to add landscaping, that is the one waiver we are asking for.
I think
for your consideration.
With the greenway you have in the courtyard, I think that makes up for it. Especially if you do some landscaping where Paula said some low-growth landscaping in the front.
Can you also bring back and show us some lighting that you're going to have against that building for the parking area? Or is it going to be like a historical, like light, like you're going to have like posts or
they on
anything
at
off
their
the,
sheets?
just
Yep,
hanging
on the
off?
landscape plan, I believe, had lighting shown on there. We basically had wall-mounted lighting
Okay. So,
along that, something that historic will be okay with.
Right.
And then we have some pole lights in the parking areas.
I don't think I had that on mine, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
guess, or for next time, just show us like what the wall-mounted lighting would look
what it might look like.
Yeah.
Like what the fixture might look like.
You have work between that and overhanging someone's bedroom windows on that side, so,
okay. All in all, I'm excited to see you guys move forward. The only other thing we'll just button down is timeframe next time, like we had talked about with the other projects. So, I mean, it would probably, we'll just do a standard 3-year timeframe, and then if it takes longer than 3 years, come back for an extension. I think that's probably the safest way to do it. I'm sure you still have some funding sources and stuff you got to work out too. So
yeah.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so does the board like to make a motion to continue?
Do you have anything else before?
No, I think we covered it
Make a
all
motion to
for now.
continue to
Yeah,
our
thank you.
November meeting.
All right. Second. Motion with a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those
Aye.
And all those opposed? None. Unanimous.
Great. Good presentation, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all of your comments and your time tonight. Really appreciate that and look forward to seeing you next month.
Right. And I'll put this out there too. I mean, the ZBA had a site walk. If you think we want to coordinate a site walk, we can talk to the applicant about that if you want to see it before our
You
next
can
meeting.
go jump in the hole there, Peter, and see if
Yeah.
you can find
Love
something.
Yeah, if anyone does want to walk the site, just let us know. Happy to meet you over there and take you around. Yeah. Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have next a special permit and site plan review modification, 218-17, 140 Industrial Road LLC. Request for existing marijuana establishment to also operate as a cultivation and processing facility under MMTC license, that's underneath the CCC, located at 140 Industrial Road. Is the applicant here for this?
Let me see what we have. Yes, we do. Attorney Silverman is here. Attorney Silverman, I unmuted you. You're good to go. Do you want, I have a Charlie Yon too. Do you want him to be unmuted?
Sure, that would be great.
Perfect. You both are, so whoever wants to speak.
All right. Let me see. I got to figure out how to get my video on, or I'm not sure why I can't do that
you might
right
not.
now.
Oh, you know what? Hold on. Let me promote you to a panelist, and then then you can do that.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
While Phil is doing that, this is Charlie Yon, Chief of Staff for Native Son. Thank you to the entire board for hearing us this evening. We look forward to presenting to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you hear me and see me?
We can.
Oh, fantastic. All right.
Can we see him?
Should I proceed?
I can see him on my screen. Dan can pull him up, I think, on the main screen if he's there. All right.
Oh, I see him.
And yeah, so Phil, do you need anything up on the screen, or do you?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
He did have, it was an application that was just explaining, I think that was
Say
about
that
it.
again?
There were, I think, was it the application? It was just like the short narrative explaining.
A cover letter,
Cover
probably.
letter, yes, maybe cover letter and that.
Hold on, I got the stuff. in
Oh,
the line.
narrative. There we go.
Okay.
There we go. Be helpful.
All right. So I'm here for 140 Industrial Road LLC. I also represent some affiliates of 140 Industrial Road. They're known as Holland Brands NA, Holland Brands SB, Native Son Wellness Inc., and Native Son Braintree. And let me try and sort of explain the connection. So my client and its affiliates are seeking to operate a cultivation and product manufacturing facility for medical marijuana. Previously, this facility has been used to do adult use or recreational marijuana. Now what we're seeking to do is medical marijuana at the same facility. As some of you may recall, Massachusetts law has always had a requirement that if you were going to do medical marijuana, you have to be able to cultivate, manufacture, and dispense the product. You can't only be a dispensary or only be a cultivator. You have to do all three phases of the business to operate under a medical marijuana license. And so it used to be that the Cannabis Control Commission said, not only do you have to be able to do all three phases, but all three phases have to be within the same entity. But now they have changed that. That's no longer required. So what you can do is you can have, the cultivation and manufacturing in one entity, which is the case here, 140 Industrial is that entity, and you can have the dispensing in another. And that's what the affiliates are about. They're already adult use dispensaries, and we want them to be medical dispensaries. So what's going to happen, and the reason we're here, is we want the special permit, which only mentions 140 Industrial, to sort of reflect the fact that it's operating under a license with these other entities, the four that I mentioned. Now, when I say I mentioned four, it's actually, they will only operate with three of them because you're limited to the number of medical dispensaries that you can have to three. I'm not sure which of the three it's going to be right now. It sort of depends upon some local matters that we're taking care of within each of those local communities. But they will not operate four. They'll only be operating three. But I was looking to get sort of the approval under the special permit for those four, and then we'll figure out which which three are actually going to operate. So, we've already had the host community agreement for 140 Industrial modified to allow for this. And just from the perspective of the community, you won't see any difference here in terms of the activities that go on there or the management. So it's really just sort of a technical amendment of the special permit because of the fact that you need to sort of be affiliated with these dispensing operations, that we want it modified just to reflect the fact that, again, we'll be operating for medical marijuana operations with those affiliates.
Okay.
So I hope I haven't confused everybody, but let me know if I can clarify.
Well, because we also had updated our ordinance since that original time period as well, so that we no longer really differentiate between the two. So we do marijuana establishment.
Great. Yep.
So this is more getting into more of a detail to, I think, maybe assist your application with CCC.
Right. And I don't even know if they'll look at it, but I'm concerned that if they do, they'll say, well, your special permit doesn't really allow it, and that's why I felt we might as well let you know what's going on and see if we could just sort of get a modification that reflects those other entities.
Could you pull up the other the special permit now?
Mm-hmm.
We'll just say that's.
Which one do you want?
Yeah.
This is the extension.
Yep.
This is the
But we
permit.
have it, yeah, but we already authorized it as medical marijuana cultivation and processing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Non-medical. So you have it already both from us. So you, more clarifying that it's the other entities that are affiliated as underneath their, the CCC regulations?
Correct. We just want to really sort of modify it to mention that the medical operations will be in conjunction with 3 of those other 4 entities.
I don't see an issue with that at all, do you, Paul?
No, I don't have an issue with it. I'm just trying to just making sure we word it.
Yeah, right. They're not up and running yet, right?
I believe they are.
Oh, okay. So you have a Kathy. Oh, okay. That must be one of the abutters. We have a hand raised. Kathy Rochlow. I assume that's one of the abutters. If that's the case, we'll get to public comment in 1 second. How long have they been open for? Because every time I drive by, I've seen construction every day for the last 3 years. But
if I'm mistaken, maybe Charlie, if you want to unmute yourself, I think you can address that one.
Sure thing. I apologize, I don't have the exact date handy, but we commenced operations around July of this year.
Okay, so it's very recent. Yeah, I was going to say it's. I hadn't noticed it. How many employees do you currently have in the facility?
Again, I apologize, I don't have the exact number, but I want to say we are over 35 and approaching 45 as we fill out all of our current job requisitions.
Okay, thank you. And then it looks like we have a public comment, Paula, whenever you want.
Sure.
All right. Mr. Rochlow, you are welcome to speak whenever you want.
Hi, yes, thank you very much. I'm Kathy Rochlow. I'm one of the co-owners of Rochlow Tool. We are directly across the street. We're located at 117 Industrial Road. And as an abutter, we want to stay aware of what our neighbors are doing and also make the city aware of the very, very strong odor that we can smell even across the street and in our building. And in fact, yesterday we were having our parking lot paved, and the employee for the parking lot company said, "Is there a grow facility around here?" And the other co-owner said, "Yes, right across the street." And she said, "Wow, it smells really strong and my eyes are burning." We have customers that come into our company from around the world, and it's not a great impression, in my opinion, to have that kind of odor that infiltrates into our building. Wondering, as the company grows, no pun intended, and they're producing even more product at the marijuana facility, this odor is going to become an even bigger problem.
The short answer, Kathy, is there's not supposed to be. Matter of fact, this is an issue we have with another facility. I'm glad you brought it to our attention, because this is the first time I've heard it about Native Son. We have Revolutionary Clinics who is in the process of installing a multi-million-dollar
Odor mitigation system.
odor mitigation system because you're not supposed to smell it. So if that is the case, Attorney Silverman, your client's going to have to fix that.
That would be also a condition of this modification is the submission and implementation of an odor mitigation plan, the timeline.
Okay. So I think what would be helpful is maybe if we speak with Ms. Rushello offline and try to get a better understanding of the problem, and then we can try to address it. That's what I can suggest right now. It's the first I'm hearing of it, so I think that's the best course of action.
This is come to our attention with, like I said, with actually 2 other facilities. We have, I don't know, 11 now
To
up
discuss
and
the
running.
problem.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Just saying that we'd be very happy to discuss the problem, and if there's
Perfect, and we definitely, I'm glad you brought it to our attention. If things like that come up in the future, Kathy, and you notice the issue, you notice it's getting worse, or you smell it, call the Board of Health so we at least have a record of the complaint. We were not aware when a lot of these facilities were originally permitted. In this case, this was over 5 years ago. That this would be as big of an issue as it's been. So the board has been we're trying to get into the phase of being proactive to make sure that there isn't supposed to be too much odor or any odor, really.
I was going to propose a submission of an odor mitigation plan within 4 months and with implementation in no less than 12 months. We see that.
Yeah, it's if we're
months.
going to do a modification anyway, we might as well include it in there.
That's why, since we're doing a modification, I'd like to see it written so that we can review it.
Yep.
So submit a plan within 4 months for review. And certainly, please talk with the abutters about it to see what the when the times are occurring and how it's happening, to see what can be improved upon in the operation.
Of course.
To figure out what the best course of action is.
As far as the original request, I have no issue with it. So I
don't either. So I also was trying to figure out the. You mentioned up to wanting to list all 4. We could list off those 4 particularly, or whether or not do we just do.
Well, the 3 limit's not us, so just list all 4.
I know, or just generally speaking, just anything is a general affiliation. Do we have to list the 4?
I mean, if Attorney Silverman's so comfortable with just the 4, just put the 4 in the permit and just say, these are the 4 that are, that the applicant is requesting to do business
affiliated with on the retail side.
That's fine. It's just a technical.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Exactly.
So the request is, you already have the ability, it appears, this permit, for cultivation and product manufacturing for both medical and non-medical purposes.
Correct. It's really just to reflect that 140 Industrial is vertically integrated through these other 4 entities.
Okay.
Since we're dealing with Attorney Silverman too, and he's so knowledgeable with these things, we
could
can draft
some
it and
exact
show it to him
thinking.
and say, does this match what you're trying to accomplish? That
That'd
way
be
we don't
great.
have any legal issues. Okay.
That'd be great. Yep.
Right.
And because I know you represent so many people we've dealt with, Attorney Silverman, that just so you know, the odor mitigation thing happened to come up tonight, but had we heard of an anonymous complaint, we would have brought it up with Native Son in the same way that Paul is suggesting tonight, because we have so many of these facilities now, especially some of the facilities as they're older buildings, and we have one where some of the windows are failing, so I think that's causing odor issues. In this case, it's a brand new building, so there really shouldn't be any, but maybe they just need to have someone go through and look at their processes and their filters and everything else and get that solved, because according to everything I've heard, especially locally, but even through the CCC, that shouldn't be happening.
Understood.
Just to interject, it is not actually a new building. That building has been in existence, although they did do extensive remodeling to it.
Right.
I didn't mean the building itself was new. I meant everything they did to it was new.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
Yes, thank you for your comments. Very timely.
Thank you. I appreciate your help.
Thank you.
And the board have any further questions or comments regarding this? All right. Is there anybody online and virtual attendee have any comments regarding this modification request?
I have no one else on here that does.
Okay.
I mean, for the record, because this is the first cannabis one, I do have Captain LeMay on for.
Captain LeMay, if you have any questions or feedback you'd like to?
Yep. Yeah. Sorry, that was my fault.
Good evening. I do not have any comments on this applicant's request at all, or the other two that are listed after. So when they come about, you can just delete me from requesting.
I just wanted to make sure you had the opportunity.
No, I appreciate the opportunity, but I've been here all night, and I've spoken to the chief in regards to all three items on the agenda in regards to marijuana, and we have no opposition to any of the three. In regards to the odor that you discussed, ironically today when I was down in Lower Clegon around 10 o'clock in the morning, right passing the 50/50 diner, it was very much a strong odor coming from that area. From the establishments in Lower Clegon.
Revolutionary Clinics is a known issue. The Ward 2 counselor calls me routinely about it, and I drive past it every day, and I would say every other day it's a problem. And they're aware. We're working on it.
But please feel free to relate any other issues like that to our board.
Absolutely.
From any other facility.
No, I traditionally try to drive by most of them throughout the month to see if there's any issues, and this is the only issue that I see more on a regular basis is the odor in that area, which I know you guys are aware of. But it certainly is an issue for the community in that Lower Clegon area.
Yep. And for what it's worth, if you or if anyone notices an issue or smell that's out of place or it's just particularly bad, just call or send an email to the Board of Health or to Steve Curry and just let them know, because that way I was telling Councilor Boschman, that way we at least have a record of it every time someone has a complaint.
Yep, do that. You can also see the our community development office so that we can bring it up as an issue.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that being said, if there's no further comment or questions, is there...
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
There's a motion made with a second to close the hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right, any discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the modification to add those 4 entities and also add a request about odor mitigation plan.
Submission of the odor mitigation plan in 4 months and implement within 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
Second.
All right.
Sorry, Tracy. You can give
Motion's been made with the second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say opposed. And we'll take roll call. Alex?
Aye.
Alin?
Aye.
Amanda?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Paula? Aye. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is a special permit and site plan review modification 219-16 Canterbury Cultivation Cooperative LLC, extension request to commence operations for marijuana establishment located at 310 Broad Street. And I go, the original permit was 2019, and I know we've been here previously, so
yes,
we'd like to see what progress is being made, particularly.
Well, it's good to be here in person after having been online so many times before. I'm attorney Catherine Bierwas, and I represent Canterbury and Sean Morrison. Sean is the managing partner of Canterbury because in Massachusetts, if there's absent an operating agreement, who's ever put in the most money is the managing partner. And that person is Sean. He has put over $300,000 into this project so far. And it was approved originally in December of 2019, and we have been here several times, not only because of COVID, but also because of a partnership dispute. And that dispute is between Sean Morrison and Robert Bujold. We have been diligently trying to settle this case. Last year, I told you that I had expected we would be starting to actually move forward with the project by this past summer. That didn't, the reason I said that was because we had a judicial settlement conference scheduled for March, and we anticipated that we would resolve it at that point, because we came to the table to do just that. Mr. Bujold chose not to appear at the settlement conference. So what is scheduled right now is the trial. And we have a 3 to 4 day jury trial scheduled for March 11th of 2024. And at that time, at the conclusion of that trial, we will have a solid answer as to how and who is going to be able to move forward with the project. And so, as you know, Sean Morrison has had several businesses in Fitchburg, and when he's in control of making the project happen, it does, and it happens regularly, and it happens quickly. He's not been in control of making this happen, unfortunately. He has continued to spend money to keep the project alive between corporate filings. He's paid for the special permits to be recorded. He's paid, whatever expenses have come up along the way to be sure that we could maintain the special permit and maintain the business so that at the resolution there would be something. He's stepped up and has done that at every turn. And at this point, Canterbury does own the architectural drawings that will fit a cultivation facility at 310 Broad Street. So the drawings exist. They were obviously presented initially for the special permit. But we need to resolve the suit before we can move forward. And that can't happen until March. So we are asking that you maintain the status quo, renew the special permit yet again, and until the trial is over, so we have the ability to continue and move forward.
And you'll see at that point in time, I guess, what the situation is.
Right. Okay. And I anticipate that, that Mr. Morrison will be in charge of what happens and with the building and the project, and it has been his desire right from the beginning to keep this project moving forward. And so that is the plan.
So, just a little contrary, because it was mentioned about the $300,000 being spent toward the project, but then no work has been done. So in the building,
the building was cleaned out. There was a significant amount of interior clean out that had to be done when the project, before even the drawings to be done, and Mr. Morrison did that in the very beginning. So they cleaned out the entire interior, and he did everything he could up until he was told he could no longer enter the building, and then everything started to fall apart. Okay. And that's kind of where we are. And
can I ask one question? I'm just curious about something, and this might be complicated. It might be a legal thing, and if you can't answer, it's fine. I was just looking because I was curious who owns the building, and it looks like the other party owns the building. So even if the court says he can cultivate, how can he get access to a building he doesn't own?
Perfect question, because the contract that was originally signed between Mr. Morrison and Mr. Bujold was for Mr. Morrison and Bujold to set up a separate company within 1 month, and that company would own the building, and they would own it 50-50. So as part of that initial contract, Mr. Morrison paid the $100,000 up front to Mr. Bujold, so that's the consideration for the contract, and it hasn't been, once that Mr. Morrison tried during that month to get it to set up this new company, and Mr. Bujold refused to cooperate. And then after the month, he just said, well, it was supposed to be done in a month, so we don't have to do it. And Mr. Morrison had already expended a significant amount of time, energy, and money getting it to that point.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just mentioned another aspect, just in the permit itself. I'm recalling, just about the parking, so there might be some off-site parking agreements that still may, because it's been such a period of time that would have to be, I would say, reaffirmed.
They've been
Yeah,
renewed.
so you want to make sure that that would be something the board would have interest to make sure that if the project continues to move forward, that you have the adequate parking to do so.
Let's put it this way. Once all the legal issues are hashed out, we probably need to meet again just to make sure. It's been so long. I mean, this original permit was 2019.
Yep.
Not quite as long as the last applicant, but anyway, we might have to relook at things. And like Paula had said, I didn't look over this thing, but it looks like it was, at the time, it was just, oh no, it references ME. I was going to say, because the property record card, the assessor record card says non-medical on the assessor record card, which I thought was weird. So anyway, let's not confuse ourselves now. But
And as you understand too, we're having definitely issues with odor mitigation.
Yes.
So in being in the proximity of the location where it is, that would also be paramount to pay attention to.
In every marijuana establishment, it is of paramount concern and will be addressed.
It is. But being, as there was waivers due to the distance setbacks too between, the
It's right
field, we don't want anything there. So that's going to be a focus too.
yeah, because when we approved a lot of these,
I don't know,
didn't have it in
we
there.
didn't have that at the time, maybe as in-depth review as we should have potentially on the odor aspect. And now that they're coming up, a refocus, so that will also be looked at to probably any enhanced plans you'd have for that if the project moves.
And on that note, Paula, since we're doing a modification, we probably should just add that prior to commencement, in whatever the future date is, that they provide an odor mitigation plan, so that there's those in place, because we're going to ask for it eventually anyway.
Yeah, parking review, parking.
Yeah, I mean, whatever gaps we need to fill in, but particularly, and again, these are things that have recently been brought to our attention, especially with One Oak Hill Road. It's been a very bad issue that, the city, we wanted to see these cultivation facilities because it was sold to us as, you won't know they're there, and all of a sudden everyone's starting to notice that they're there the wrong way via smell, so we need to make sure that we kind of figure this out.
Understood.
Great.
So that would be looking at, also prior to commencement to submission of the parking verification for off-street parking, as well as an updated odor mitigation plan. Probably scaled, if this doesn't work, then we're going to do,
Understood.
levels.
Yep.
We don't want to have to revisit it. Or if
No.
you do,
Retrofitting
if
is much
know,
more expensive than doing it right the first
right,
time.
and if you already know ahead of time, then you kind of plan for it, so.
Right.
Yeah, we'll just make sure you plan for it, too. Any board members have any questions regarding this one?
I just want to see if we have public comment.
Public comment. And we understand, too, we were late in filing for getting these recorded decisions, so you have the 20-day appeal, and then this will also be subject to these getting recorded, then we'll have the next
So
extension.
part of that was they weren't ready. They hadn't actually been signed. And when Mike sent me the ones that were signed, and I recorded them, and actually one of them was one that was already signed, and I recorded that twice, didn't realize it. And then when Chantel and I tried to figure out exactly where we were, because I had made that commitment to having them all done, we realized that the last two had not been signed by the board.
Mhm.
And as soon as we got them signed, we did have them recorded, and I have copies of them today. So they were all done. We will make sure that as soon as we get it from you, we will.
Yes, so as soon as those two get recorded after.
They have been.
They have been?
Yes,
Great.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Excellent.
they have been. Yes.
Great. Provide the book and page, because that's going to become an ongoing roll-up on all of
I
these
can provide that to
extensions.
Chantel before I leave.
Okay, great. That too.
Unless you want it on the record, it's up to you.
No,
Oh,
fine,
okay.
Chantel, that's fine. We can look it up in the registry too, so
Okay.
just want to get the book and page for that too.
Okay.
Because if it's not recorded, it's not effective until it's recorded.
Got it.
All right. So we want to make sure one's done before the next one. So again, apologize for the prior decisions, but it should be all caught up now.
Agreed.
That. So no further board questions? They're asking for a one-year extension. And the one-year extension is from, let's see, what's this one say, Paul? From, what could be till,
I'm getting there.
just to
Hold
be clarify.
October 31st, 2023.
So October 31st, 2024?
31st, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I have no problem with that, but I do want to see, you need to ask if there's public comment.
We did, yes, is there anybody else virtual?
Yeah, no, I don't think there's anyone virtual, but is there anyone here that has public comment?
All right. Wait, one moment. We'll let you get up to the podium. Please state your name for the record.
So, Robert Bujold.
Robert Bujold, okay.
I own 310 Broad Street.
Okay.
I was only notified about this extension via the card that was mailed to me in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
And then I requested the document, and they filled out the bottom as they're the owners of the property. So I'm just concerned about the whole process of how this was actually filed.
The property owner was listed, I know, 310 Broad Street 2 LLC.
Which I just,
The applicant's Canterbury Cultivation.
you're the owner of 301 Broad Street 2 LLC, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're listed as the
Your
property
permit.
owner on here.
Can take a look
If
at the
I didn't
application.
get the card in the mail, I wouldn't have known that this hearing was happening.
Can you go back, can you open up the application?
Yeah.
The application was signed, both sections. This is a new form, apparently, and this is the first time we filled it out. It does say business owner and property owner.
Yes.
And Mr. Morrison did sign under both.
Yeah, it does say, I certify that the applicant cited above have been authorized by us to file this application with the planning board on property that we own.
So it is, right, it did come up after we immediately contacted Mr. Bujold through his attorney and requested him to sign it, and he refused. And the bottom line is the ownership of the building is at contest. And so Mr. Morrison did not sign Mr. Bujold's name. He signed his own name. And so, we actually came last minute.
Well, we're not going to solve the legal argument anyway.
Right,
So,
right. So-
that's not what we're here for. This is merely an extension of time. This doesn't impact anything else other than an extension of time. So it behooves both of you to keep this open. So we'll handle that. You guys solve the legal aspect, and then whatever the court says, we'll abide by.
Well, I guess my concern is just the process of the way it was filed. I mean, if there's a special permit, the property owner should know that there's going to be an extension heard.
Yes. I'm glad you got the card.
I'm glad I did too.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose we probably need to look at how our form is written, and maybe we'll convey that to our solicitor to see, in situations like this, I mean, I've been doing this a long time. This is the first time someone's brought this to my
I think the form is written
attention.
the right way, but if you're not checking to make sure that the person that's signing it is the actual property owner.
Well, we do have special permits where the property owners aren't the special permit holders. That's not a requirement of the
No,
special
but they
permit.
give relief, but they still give like assignment on their behalf.
Yeah, and it is to the property and not to the person. So it's a good point. Well, Mr. Bujold, we will definitely take that into account. Quite honestly,
As this is an extension, it's kind of also different too, and versus an original permit. Not
Yeah.
saying that
I mean,
definitely
do you,
take concern what you've
just
brought
out of
up.
curiosity, do you not want the extension to go forward?
Nothing has happened since 2019.
Yep.
And obviously, this isn't the place to hash out the legal stuff.
Yep.
And not everything is correct here.
Yep.
So,
The reason why I ask that is I'm just trying to figure out, because I get you should have known ahead of time. I get that. And however, why ever that happened, but we're here for
regardless
just,
if you
we're here
extend,
for
if
just an
this the
extension.
special permit, if it ever does become a cultivation facility, that original special permit is going to be so chopped up that it'd be easy to rewrite a new one.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I appreciate the thought, and it's crossed our mind too. Well, we're trying to let the legal stuff play out first. Is all we're trying to do. Let the legal stuff figure itself out, and then we can figure out how it impacts the property, the city of Fitchburg, cannabis in general, all that stuff. So, I suppose at this point we know there might be a deadline, so let's wait till that deadline.
Are you opposed to the extension request for the additional time?
As the property owner, I'm
Right.
opposed to it, yes.
I guess I've got a legal question about this and wish Mr.
We'll have to run it
Presbyterian
by
was here.
Vinnie. We'll have to run it by our solicitor.
He did comment on it. He said, as far as the city's concerned, he would like the legality to play out and let us.
I understand, but this is a little different about the actual application.
I see. Well, and I asked him about this because it was brought to our attention. So, but that is what he said. But we can ask him again.
And I did have a conversation with him and provided him with a copy of the complaint and the contract and everything that showed that Mr. Morrison, considers himself, when he signed it, as an owner of the, whether it's technical at this moment or not, and he just signed it. And it was also, I will also add that this was
All right, let's not get too far into this because we'll just.
I'm just trying to figure out whether or not we should act on it or continue it until we get some clarification regarding the aspect of aspect of it.
So when I sent an email to Attorney Pusateri, I included the section in your regulations that's cited in your permit, right, in the application, and I went through the exact language, and it doesn't say anything about who needs to sign a form, who needs to do, how an extension is granted, or based on what. It only says one line, and that is that the board will grant extensions as they see fit. It doesn't say anything, and I probably have it, but there's no requirement that a property owner sign.
I'll make this easy. I'll just make a motion to grant the extension subject to our legal department's satisfaction to their review. If they tell us that it's not okay, then we'll have to wait. We'll have to make some determination in November. If they tell us it's okay in the meantime, then the vote will be satisfactory and won't be a problem. The alternative is, if you want, you or I can call him right now. I know he said he was going to come back, but it doesn't look, it's 9:40. I don't think he's coming back.
Boy.
I'm comfortable
with it.
I'm comfortable voting on it and just putting in that the extension is subject to verification from our solicitor that he believes that we have adequate ability to grant the extension. I'll put, we got to close the hearing first, but I don't know if you want to take any more public comment.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Not me.
Okay. Anybody else in our virtual world?
Let me look. No. Make a motion to close the public hearing.
All right. A motion's been made.
Seconded.
With the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right.
I'll make a motion to
Have our
grant
discussion.
a 1-year extension for Canterbury Cultivation Cooperative LLC, subject to verification from our solicitor that we have the authorization to grant the extension.
And then I'll also say prior to commencement, review of any parking verification and odor mitigation.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Those two things. The motion's been made.
Second.
With a second, all those in favor say aye, and all those
Aye.
opposed say opposed, and I'm going to take roll call. Alex?
Aye.
Alin?
Aye.
Amanda?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Paula? Okay, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I start with the A's alphabetically.
What's that?
I'm starting with alphabetically.
Last but not least, you got to wait for Paula to open it, though.
We have special permanent site plan review modification 220-2, Apical Inc., extension request to commence operations for marijuana establishment located at 431 Westminster Street. And I do have a question regarding the entity of, is it Apical LLC or Apical Inc.? Because we did approve a transfer at one point in time, and I'm not clear on the status of that.
I think this is Apical. Boy, we got, because both entities exist, it's a question of which one's on this one.
I'm trying to find my email.
You want the decision? Because I just pulled it up. Apical Inc. is the applicant on the extension.
I understand.
Yeah, I think
No, keep going, but in that, we gave,
It is Apical Inc., I believe, yes.
so,
It
but
says
see if the board's
Apical-
approving Apical Inc. to transfer 100% of its outstandings to Apical LLC, which is owned by Apical Investments, sole manager of both Apical LLC.
Yes, yeah, so it's, do you read that? It says, "The board's April 13th,
Yes.
2021 meeting, an additional modification of ownership was granted, approving Apical Inc. to transfer 100% of its outstanding stock to Apical LLC, which is owned by Apical Investments LLC." Man, you guys got to come up with some different names. Robert McKinley is the sole manager of both Apical LLC and Apical Investments LLC.
So who is the permit?
So it
Like,
doesn't-
do we
Oh, my goodness.
modification of ownership approval to transfer?
Okay, I got the applicant, Apical Inc.
Can we just?
And I'll just say Apical LLC, is not filed as a mass corporation. So for all of its purposes, it doesn't exist until it's registered.
I noticed that earlier, and Brian Horrigan on behalf of Apical. I noticed that earlier as I was looking at the state certificate, then the check in the box, and then I realized that the Apical LLC is not, and I think I did that when it was kind of hasty when I did it, and I apologize.
Paula, can we just clarify it by, when we do the extension, just granting it to either of Apical Inc.
I
or
need to know who
Apical?
it's granted to. Well, that's just why I'm asking, because they should know.
What I'm saying, what does it matter? What does it matter if they're both named on the permit?
I'm just
trying to think
I don't
of a
know
reason
if
why it
I don't know if Apical Inc. is involved any longer. They transferred it. So really, should the applicant now be Apical LLC? But also, Apical LLC is not a registered mass corporation, so we can't exactly do that till they're registered.
Okay, but you see what I'm saying, right? Just list all three and just let them iron it out.
Well, I
we
know-
are
no, I
we are
can't-
approving it theoretically to one of these three.
I would just like to hear from the applicant, though, about what is the actual construct of the ownership.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Because I don't want to get them reversed on who is the 100% owner of the other.
Yeah, Apical Inc. is the only corporation in Mass.
Correct. But if we transferred it, then who are we giving the extension to? Because it's not Apical Inc. anymore, because we already transferred to LLC, but if LLC needs to exist.
Oh, man.
The other question too, and this is because this has come up a lot recently, and this is honestly just from my education because I don't know. What does it matter if they're a corporation in the Commonwealth of
Because
Massachusetts?
they're not approved to operate in the Commonwealth. Can't do cannabis either. You have
What
to
if
be.
what if they're a DBA and they're not a corporation?
You still could.
You don't have to be in a corporate database.
you
Like
still
my
could-
business isn't.
You'd be a
in corporate
registered
database.
entity in Massachusetts.
For what?
It is Apical Inc. because it's 100% owned by Apical LLC. That is how it should be, I believe. I'm pretty certain of that from recalling other things as we.
But you understand, Apical LLC needs to be registered as a corporate.
No, he's saying it's Apical Inc.
Right. So did the transfer
The
not occur? I mean, we approved a transfer.
the
Did it
ownership
occur?
though, is, but it's owned, well, Apical Inc. is 100% owned by Apical LLC, but the applicant is Apical Inc.
Perfect. That's fine. Let's just put that in the permit.
Okay.
That solves your hurdle of the
I
corporation.
feel like
and
you
his-
register the corporation. You still need to register Apico LLC as a corporation.
Not if they're not on the permit. Otherwise, why do you?
It's not a
There's
corporation.
no state requirement to do that.
Yes, it is.
No, there's not. For what? Why? For what purpose?
As a,
Like I said,
a
my-
massive
so my
corporation to actually do business within the Commonwealth is, should actually, yes, be looked at.
You're not required to.
Actually, certificates are required by the CCC as well, in order to say you're good standing with the Commonwealth as a
But they
corporation.
know the hierarchy. They see it. It's all provided. Believe, trust me, they got every.
Yeah.
I'm doing, because we're even doing
I want
all
to make
certain
sure we're
renewals.
recording this appropriately and who's who, because it's very important about who we're giving the permit to.
But yeah, Apical LLC is not a corporation in the state of Massachusetts in that regard, but it's Apical Inc. is the applicant.
Is the applicant in Massachusetts?
Apical Inc. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is. Yes.
Why
So-
And I, yes.
All right.
How close are you to get moving with this project? Because I feel like this one's dragged on for way too long.
Yeah, I hadn't graced the doors of these chambers yet, but I wanted to say it's beautiful in here, this room. We had another setback. Our general contractor suffered serious health issue in the beginning of the year, and we basically stopped any of the construction from February to July. Hart, Mark Rochette of Rochette Consulting and Construction. So it just put a big pause on everything. It took longer than we thought. We're getting back on track, and then subsequently, I was going to say 6 months, but the flip side is we just lost another 5 weeks because the storm that came in on September 18th. There was water intrusion, damaged some of the equipment inside, some of the panels. And so now we're on hold with the insurance company. They've been out there 3 times tomorrow as their final visit to get everything sorted out. So since September 18, we lost 5 more weeks.
I think you might be able to guess what the next conversation is going to be based on the last 2 applicants' odor mitigation.
We haven't had an issue in any of our operations. I'm not sure if it has to do with the panels that we use within these rooms, but I saw that,
So Revolutionary Clinics is completely enclosed too.
Yeah.
And theirs is huge, and their problem's
And their
bad.
stink is huge.
Yeah. So I hope that's the case. I hope that's the case, but it's certainly, we're going to add it the same way we did the last 2.
All right, and I know that part of even with CCC submitting all that was part of the program, but I'm going to check. I don't know on the hard part of the engineering of that, but I think the nature of the panels that we use, which is the lion's share of the odor is coming from the grow rooms, and how the panels that we use in there, I think, help contain that. We don't have that issue in other states and other markets we operate in.
Perfect.
So,
fingers crossed.
Yep, but I heard what you said.
Yep.
Loud and clear, so.
So that would be, prior to commencement submission of odor mitigation plan. Be helpful if it, again, like, as we mentioned, if it's like tiered, if there is a problem, you have progressive steps you can take.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have it covered. Shouldn't be an issue. We're anxious. It's been, you can't make some of this stuff up, the delays we've had. It's just been something else, and got an awful lot of money. I'm hearing 300. We got over 6 million in there right now, so we need to start monetizing it.
So one more year, October 31st, 2024? Okay.
Nick Erickson has his hand raised.
Oh, great. Thank you. I can't see anything on my screen.
Thanks, Paula. I just wanted to let the applicant know if there's any work being proposed within the city's right-of-way, and I don't recall the specifics of the project, but Mass DOT is planning to repave Route 31 and 2A through this area next spring. So after that, the road will be under moratorium and no excavation will be allowed. So if anything is proposed within the right-of-way, it needs to happen ASAP.
I know you got upgrading sidewalks.
Yeah, that's, I wasn't aware, so I will be in touch with our folks on that.
I would
ASAP.
talk to DPW, talk to Nick
Yep,
too,
I'll
sooner
put
rather
it-
than later, so
yep.
that you guys can get on the same page.
April of 24?
Yeah, April coming up.
Okay.
Nick, we had talked about they were doing some sidewalk work here and there. Obviously, not to that extent, right?
So they're willing to upgrade existing sidewalks to be ADA compliant, but they're not willing to install new sidewalks or new curbing.
Okay.
So I've actually got to break some bad news to the folks that were looking to redevelop that site for Monty Tech at the intersection of Temple and Westminster Street.
Right.
We met with DOT last week on site, and they were very clear that this is a paving project, not a sidewalk, curbing, berm, et cetera project. So unfortunately, we can't accommodate Monty Tech's request, and we certainly won't be able to accommodate any sort of assistance with this project either.
Yeah, and I certainly wasn't asking for assistance. I was just want to make sure that they weren't building it into a bid they were doing when we were going to have, that was an offsite improvement that these folks had agreed to anyway.
Yeah, it sounds like they've got an on-call contractor that they'll be assigning the work to. So like I said, they'll upgrade some of the existing sidewalk that we have along Westminster Street to be ADA compliant, especially with crosswalks and whatnot. But in an area like this where there's no existing sidewalk and there's sidewalk proposed, they're asking us to basically ensure that any private development happens prior to them coming in to do the work, Monty Tech included. So that's kind of the directives that I've been given through Mass DOT, and that's what I'm passing along to the applicant here.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, and we'll have to.
Very good to know.
You'll have to get in there beforehand and do the work. Otherwise, I don't know.
Also good for everybody to know out there that that road's going to be repaved next spring. A list. All right, any further questions? And anything from the public? Virtual or otherwise?
No other hands raised. Nope. Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay. Motion's made to close the hearing. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? And all those opposed? All right.
Make a motion to approve the special permit extension request to, what did we say, October 31st, 24?
Mhm.
And subject to the same condition as before, odor mitigation plan to be provided prior to commencement of operation.
Okay.
Second.
Motion's been made with a second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say opposed, and we'll take a roll call. Alex?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Amanda?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Paula? Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you all
luck.
very much. Appreciate it, and we'll be.
Thanks for coming tonight.
If there's timing issues after you talk to DPW and MassDOT about doing that work, we have to figure out an alternative.
Got it.
And I, quite honestly, I don't know what it is, so I'm pretty sure you have to get it done before they do that road.
All right.
So-
Got it. Understood. And winter's coming.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, you probably won't be able to get it done till the spring, but hopefully you can beat MassDOT out there to do whatever you have to do. Thank you very much.
Well, we'll say thank you all very
Thank you.
much.
Yeah, have a good day.
Thank you.
That concludes the public hearing portion of this evening, and we have other business. We have planning board change of a December meeting date.
As most of you know, we're going to have this problem next year too. Our meeting would be the day after Christmas, which we already decided isn't practical. What day did you want, Paula?
I don't have my calendar.
The third?
You said
No.
December 19th.
The Tuesday before,
Right.
December 19th.
So
That's what
December
you said
19th
to
is
Liz.
the Tuesday before. If we stick to Tuesdays, but we may have to do it in the third floor room.
We will have to do it in
In
the
the
third
third
It
floor.
would be in the North Room, and Liz recommended it being in person.
A
because of
non-hybrid meeting.
Well, we can recommend that, but.
Okay.
I
We
looked at
managed,
the-
I know, you guys
Recommend
managed to
City
pull it off
statute,
last time.
it's
so-
not required to have hybrid meetings.
Depends who's on the agenda, though,
Yep.
too, per se. But it can be done. We've done the go-to meeting. Now that we've gone through it, it should be able to.
We can try again.
And the other thing too is, although they might have something, FATV might be able to help us with, because the Zoom meeting that they ran, or the Zoom meeting that they set up that I think we ran, worked fine.
Mhm.
The go-to meeting was the problem last time, so we can talk to Dan tonight or
And I'm,
the folks at
whether they're on the
FATV.
meeting or not, I'm kind of dependent now on going online to look at the folder for all of the materials, so aspects.
Can
gotta be
anyone
there,
not do the 19th?
too. Good with the 19th? Alin?
Put it in my calendar.
Alex, you're okay?
It looks good. The 19th works for me.
Great.
Perfect.
Let's do that. Then that, get it out before Christmas, not after Christmas.
And then we just have to, I think at this point, safe to say, we will remember, but when we do our calendar in January, we'll just have to remember to edit that.
Yeah.
I was going to have a draft of that for next meeting.
Yep.
If
And
that'll.
as you do that, put it before Christmas, not after. I know it falls in after
Yeah,
Christmas.
that's sure. I can certainly, I can do that. I think, yeah, there might be a few dates that you may want to look at that might be questionable that I did it out.
There's 3 elections next year, I believe.
Yeah, we should definitely look at that.
Look at that.
So,
So,
yeah,
okay.
anyway.
So, and I know they've hired someone in the community, another community development.
Yes, her name is Melissa. Her last name is escaping me right now, but we're hoping to sit down with her and have her help out, which will be a great help to me. So definitely.
Perfect.
Yes, I know. It's like, after tonight, it looks like we're going to have a lot of permits to write.
I'm going to be busy.
Yeah, I'm going to be busy, and then things have been really caught up with that, so that's good. And then we know we need to work on them.
I have more submittals for November already. So, yeah.
Okay.
Just
Yeah, some of these are really hot to trot too projects, so we gotta, just on that.
Yes. Applewild wants that thing like yesterday,
Yesterday.
so just FYI.
On that. So does anybody else have any?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Yeah.
motion's made.
Second.
With a second, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? Hey, look at this.
Wow.
This is a monumental agenda that we went through.
That was pretty
know,
good.
that Like- was
And
so
we didn't
good.
continue everything, so that was good.
Yeah, that's extra good.
Yep.
That needed to stop.
Perfect.
Yeah, just like, there you go. Well,
I did
good,
too.
great
I
job
was
on
like,
putting
I'm
the
gonna wear my
materials together,
pajamas
so that was paramount. So, I'm gonna go like
I
this.
checked on the phone. I don't know what day.